1. East Hampton Town Board, we are live, being streamed and recorded. Thank you.
Thank you, LTV. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the East Hampton Town Board work session of Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. Michael, if you could please read the roll call.
Councilmember Flight.
Present.
Deputy Supervisor Lease.
Present.
Councilmember Rogers.
Present.
Councilmember Calder-Piedmont.
Present.
Supervisor Burke-Gonzalez.
Present. If we could all please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So this morning we open up with public portion. We ask you to please kindly keep your comments to 3 minutes. And then we have a number of topics today. First, we'll do bids with Jeannie Carrozza. Then our finance division is going to be presenting their 2025 accomplishments and 2026 goals. So we're going to hear from Neji Valera on accounting and payroll, Jeannie Carrozza on purchasing, Christine Schnell on tax receiver, and then we're going to segue into the 2026 beach season update with Councilmember David Lease and other members of our public safety and beach departments. That'll be followed by a presentation by Andy Drake from Land Acquisition and Management. He's been doing YouTube videos of many of our trails. So he's going to be presenting Buckskill Meadow Preserve, Boys and Girls Harbor Park, Rods Valley, and Turtle Cove. And then Ian will be giving a presentation on the 1904 Osborne Farmhouse exterior restoration project. And that'll be followed by 2 after hearing discussions. The first one is the definition of affordable housing. The second is rent-restricted employer-sponsored housing, and those discussions will be led by Eric Shantz. That'll be followed by liaison reports and resolutions. So I have one person signed up. Hersey, you're on. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. On board. And best wishes for a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend and the ensuing season. I am Hersey Egginton, and I'm here representing the Wayne-Scott Citizens Advisory Committee. On behalf of the committee, and I would hope all the citizens of Wayne-Scott, I would like to commend consulting engineer Drew Bennett for his firm's thoughtful and meticulous plans for the exterior restoration of the 1904 Osborne Farmhouse at 66 Wayne-Scott Main Street. The Wayne-Scott Citizens Advisory Committee is on record gratefully applauding the town's acquisition of this property with community preservation funds. We would now like to add to that record our acknowledgement of the additional costs associated with restoring this property with traditional building materials, restored or historic reproductions, of needed windows, and ADA access that is behind the structure and doesn't interfere with the iconic view shed. We would also like to draw the board and the public's attention to the letter of support for this restoration from Chip Ray, the chair of the town's Architectural Review Board. As you know, the Wayne-Scott Citizens Advisory Board strongly urged the board, ultimately unsuccessfully, to amend the property management plan to preclude any future agricultural use of this property. And for this reason, I would like to quote in closing Mr. Ray's letter. The best advice we can offer is do no harm, in capital letters, I might add. That means no fences, no fertilizers, no asphalt, and no institutional improvements. The site is perfect now as it ever will be, end quote. And I might add, with the addition of this restoration of the Osborne property. So with that, I thank you and wish you a happy season.
Thank you, Hersey. All right, Jason, is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak during public comment?
Yes, I think we have 3 callers on the line right now.
Great.
Now we'll unmute the first caller. Hello, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. My name is Claudia Chamberlain Zahorsky. I'm the owner beneficiary of the
if we could just pause for a
Eileen
second.
Chamberlain estate.
Can we just pause for a second? Jason, we're having a hard time hearing in the main meeting room.
Understood. Give me a second. Let me see if I can increase the volume on. Are you having a hard time hearing me as well?
Yeah, you were a little low too.
Okay.
better?
Sorry. Oh,
Is it
one
better?
sec. Oh, yeah, no. It's on me. Give me a second. And I'll take care of it. Just 1 minute. How about now?
But you're coming in loud and clear.
Okay. And caller, could I get your name one more time?
Good morning. My name is Claudia Chamberlain Zahorsky.
Okay. Can everyone hear well?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Please, we apologize about the interruption. We'll start again. Thank you.
No problem. Good morning, everybody. I am the beneficiary of the Eileen Chamberlain estate who supported the sale of the Wainscott land parcel to the town of East Hampton. The use of the land as represented to me for preservation was a significant aspect of the choice to sell to the town. Had I been aware, the plan was to develop a high-density housing project against both the interest of surrounding neighbors and environmental protections set in place to maintain the aquifer, I would never have agreed to this sale. It appears to me this deal was disingenuously represented for two reasons. Because the Wainscott parcel represents an unusual opportunity for the town, and sadly because it disenfranchises nearby residents. I only learned of the town's plan to develop this parcel last week, and when I consulted our realtor to find out what was going on, she conveyed that representatives of the town were assuring her this parcel was not only undevelopable from an environmental standpoint, but also was not slated for development now or in the future. The decision of the board to permit development of my family's land after representing it as slated for preservation is a misuse of our estate asset that would negatively affect nearby homeowners and environmental protections. For the sake of all involved, most immediately, including my family, I formally request the town of East Hampton reverse its decision in favor of preserving the Wainscott land parcel for public recreational use as represented to me for consideration of this sale. And I implore the town of East Hampton to act with integrity. Thank you very much for your hearing, and I hope that this is resolved for the benefit of all East Hampton. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason, if you could put the next caller through, please.
Copy that. Hello, caller ending 7779. You're on the air. Hello. Okay, moving on to the next caller. Caller ending 4221. You're on the air. Hello.
Hello. Good morning, Town Board. This is Jane Mearing in Amagansett. I'm speaking as an individual citizen, not as a member of any town-appointed board or committee, although I also acknowledge I am a member of the board of the Wainscott Heritage Project. So just some quick comments about 66 Wainscott Main Street. We do see it. I see it on your agenda, and I'm very excited to see the board, quickly moving to protect and restore the Osborne farmhouse. So thank you for that. I did want to just note one thing. I think it came up in the ARV that Mr. Snodgrass would also be opining and weighing in on the restoration project. I don't know that I saw it in the long, any of his comments in the long memo from Mr. Bennett, which is very thorough, but I just wanted to flag that again, and hopefully that will come in on the process. Again, not undermining any of Mr. Bennett's expertise, but obviously the extra historical review I think would be amazing to bring into this. But more broadly, actually a few weeks ago, Councilman Slight, in the discussion you were having on water quality improvement plans, you're talking about approving the first stage of water quality improvement on Wainscott Pond, and I think Councilman Slight turned to your council and said, would having had put a historic designation over the whole property conflicted with or prevented the water quality actions that have already been talked about or will be. And you're asking counsel, I'm not a lawyer, I don't play one on TV, but I wanted to actually go back and read something that the Wayne Scott Heritage Project wrote back in 2025 at a work session, because we did think about this very hard. So at the time I wrote, I have read Mr. Attorney, Mr. Jelnicki's memo to the board about 66 Wayne Scott Main Street, designating the entire site, land and improvements as historic, extends beyond structural improvements to the premises and can arguably set a historic design which could limit introduction of additional uses. However, he continues, if the desire is to include the real property in the designation, it would be prudent to carve out certain exceptions in order to allow the above improvements to be made in the future. So there, we have always said that it would be prudent to make sure to call out the need for water quality improvements. And then we went on to write, with respect to the notion that water quality remediation of the pond is not understood or could be prohibited by designation, I don't see that proven here. First of all, there are pretty clear templates looking at the decades of work on Georgia Pond that I imagine we can have pretty clear understanding of the options for Wayne Scott Pond. We have access to a lot of expertise about what will likely have to be done there. Also, as I understand it, most structures related to water quality cleanup and improvement are either temporary in nature or permanent but are not visible. So this notion that historic designation would impede environmental cleanup of the pond seems to be something of a red herring. And then also finally we cited there have been remediations, including one recently at Pussy's Pond, smack in the middle of and contributing asset to the Springs Historic District, and that included clearing, structural changes to the shoreline, none of which was prohibited, and also got ARB review. Water quality improvement is conducive and positive for the character. So I just wanted to bring that back again. Again, Councilman Slide asked his counsel, not me, but wanted to just reiterate that. So thank you and look forward to all the ongoing preservation and restoration of the structures, and we'll listen to the work session in full later. Have a good Memorial Day weekend, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you, Jane. Jason, is there anyone else on the line?
Yes, I'm going to unmute that caller that we didn't have a response from earlier, and because they joined and rejoined again. Hello, caller ending 77.
Hello?
Hey, you're on the air.
Hey, thank you so much. This is Alon Rosenthal calling. I have spoken with the council member, and that today the day you guys are speaking about 549 and 550 Wayne Scott Northwest Road to make your decision.
So that's not on the agenda today?
Okay, well,
This is public comment.
Well, we're curious about, we're just curious about what's going on. I'm curious and concerned now because I'm hearing these neighbors call about other preservation in Wayne Scott. I can't believe that the owner just called you also and told you this land should be preserved, and it 100% should be. It's on our aquifer. It's the place where for 50 years we've heard about how important the aquifer is. So I'm confused, and I would like to hear from you, Kathy. I know you're running again. Is the aquifer no longer a priority of the town? Is all the aquifer open now for development? And how come you're going around the environmental review? Legal aside, don't you think residents deserve that for our drinking water quality?
Alon, this is public comment, so we're happy to take your comments. This is not a back and forth discussion. You're happy to reach out to council people. We can have that conversation over the phone.
No problem. I was just calling in the spirit of transparency in the election. Sorry. But can you tell me when the town is making a decision on this and what the status is?
Again, you can call our offices and we can discuss it. It's not on the agenda for today.
Okay. Well, my comment then is that after 50 years of preservation and you're preserving other properties in Wayne Scott and spending all of this money, our drinking water and environmental review should be the town's priority, not buying the cheapest land they could because the seller thought that it was going to be preserved and it's not going to be. That doesn't seem like a kind of town that residents deserve. For 50 years, we have listened to and trusted in the environmental restrictions. It's part of what makes this town great. Preserving our aquifer is the #1 most important thing. And I think that buying land on there is ridiculous for housing. And I sent you guys a lot better options for housing, and I would love to discuss them with you further so that we could have a great town that has wonderful affordable housing, transparency, environmental review, and that we preserve land when it's supposed to be.
Thank you, Alon.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Jason, is there anyone else on the line?
We have no other callers on the line.
Okay, I'm going to go one more time in the room. Would anyone like to address the board during public comment? Okay, we're going to move on then to our topics. So first topic up is bids. Oh, do you want to speak, Kirby? Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand go up. Please.
Yes, I'm Kirby Mark Antonio. I want to thank the board for having this meeting today. And I hadn't planned to speak, but there's a common thread that runs through a lot of the observations about affordable housing in particular, that it's a quick, easy, simple, take a napkin out, draw some numbers on it, put it in the hopper, and 6 months later, people are living somewhere. It's a very long, a very laborious project, which it should be. And in the 4.5 years that I've worked with the town, the planning board, and the planning department, I've found that the care and attention that goes into these projects is granular. We have had so far 391 pages of correspondence between the town and us for our project. We just got a memo today that we read that is about 60 pages of Eric's analysis of aspects of it. When folks come to these meetings, they should really understand that there is nothing done quickly, there's nothing done summarily, there's nothing done that isn't done with true transparency for those people who choose to follow the process. And that process is public. There is nothing being done behind closed doors. There's nothing being done over a cup of coffee at a local restaurant. There is absolutely nothing that cannot be looked at by the public, commented on by the public, and given credence by the town board members. So as much as I certainly have some very specific ideas about affordable housing, my ideas have been shaped by the town, and my ideas have been refined by the process. And I think it's all for the better. It does take time. It's 4.5 years for me so far working on a project that I first talked to Kate about back in 2022. So anyone in the audience who believes, or anyone watching who believes that there is a rush to construction, it simply isn't there. And I would urge everyone who has a stake in this, who cares about the welfare of the hundreds of people who do not have housing in this town, who work for the town, the police, teachers, your local barista, whoever it may be, those people are counting on this process to deliver something for them that's tangible. All of these other back and forths that may occur are, of course, valuable, and everyone has a chance to voice their opinion. But when it comes down to the actual execution of a project, there is nothing here that is mysterious. It simply takes a very long time. And I thank all the folks in the town government for their patience and their understanding and their ability to move forward in a way that can help the town itself.
Thank you, Kirby. Okay, so now we're going to move on to topics, and we're going to start with bids. Welcome, Jeannie.
Good morning. I'm going to break it up. I have several resolutions on for today and then some more on for Thursday. So the first resolutions on for today would be the acceptance of the bid we did for shade shelters. That's at the Montauk Skate Park and the Fred W. Thiel Park. Place sites and surfaces is the apparent low bidder in the amount of $310,000. Also, the acceptance of the purchase and installation of motors on aquaculture boats. Spellman's Marine is the apparent low bidder in the amount of $32,414.97. and the acceptance of a bid for the SYA, or Springs Youth Association, HVAC improvements, traditional air conditioning systems and services in the amount of $467,000. Then also, we're going to accept the proposal for statewide roofing, which is off of the Suffolk County contract, which we are piggybacking for the Atlantic Avenue Beach Comfort Station. That amount is $109,725. The extension of the contract for annual cesspool cleaning and tank pumping services, Quackenbush Cesspools Incorporated for that one. And let's see, the rejection of the bid for the Abraham's Path Comfort Station site improvements. We're going to revisit that one because everything came in over budget. And 2 notices. The bids will be available on Thursday, the 21st. The first is for the 1904 Osborne Farmhouse exterior restoration, and the other bid noticing will be surplus oyster seed sale. And then the resolutions for the Thursday meeting. First is the East Hampton Airport mowing, suburban maintenance and landscaping in the amount of $17,028 for 2 mowings per season. The rejection of the bid we did for T-shirts, sweatshirts, and other uniform items. And then we're going to notice the Springs Park restoration and another rebid for the T-shirts, sweatshirts, and other uniform items. And that should do it for bids and notices.
You've been busy. I'm glad you didn't get called for jury duty so far.
Me too.
Not good.
So anyway.
If I can just
All right.
add one thing to Jeannie, I want to thank
Sure.
Jeannie, to the town board. Some of these resolutions are on for today, which typically would be on for Thursday. I will not be at this Thursday's meeting, as I will be cheering on the East Hampton High School softball team in the opening round of the playoffs versus Eastport South Manor at 4:30 at home at the high school. If anyone else wants to cheer next to me, bring your megaphone. But that's, Jeannie, I want to thank you, and I also want to thank Michael Hansen also and Becky Hansen for assisting me getting these things changed. It truly helps my family and my enjoyability, my life out here.
All right. I'll see you in a minute.
You'll be back, Jeannie. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Finance Division 2025 accomplishments and 2026 goals. And first up is accounting and payroll. Welcome, Neji. And John's going to pull up the presentation for you. You got to go back to, first up is accounting and payroll, John. There we go. Great. Welcome, Neji.
Good morning, Madam Supervisor and council people, council members. Thank you for having me here. So the first slide is our mission statement, which hasn't changed since last year. Accounting is a very repetitive activity. Everything happens, the same as last year for the most part. But the mission statement for our department is to follow the New York State comptrollers, general municipal laws, state and federal laws, and to keep our accounting records very transparent and complete, and our internal controls to the highest standards as well. So we can go to 25. So our 2025 accomplishments, we maintained our AAA bond rating, which is the result of sound budgeting, management, and accounting practices. The town received in early 2025 the award of the Financial Reporting Achievement from the GFOA of the United States and Canada for the year of 2023. We recently received the same award for the 2024 year-end financials, which we're very proud. We completed our New York State retirement system reporting conversion to the enhanced reporting. That happened in the first quarter of 2025. It was a big project and we completed that. So now we are on the enhanced reporting, which is what the New York State Comptroller wants all the local governments to follow. The fourth item is we closed 115 capital projects last year versus 80 in 2024 and 65 in 2023. We keep adding projects as, you know, the needs of the town change, you know, new cars for police, you know, more roads, improvements, and all kinds of capital projects. As they are complete, we close them. Because if there are any funds, remaining funds that were not needed, those funds are used to pay for the debt service, which saves money on the budget. We completed our step number 1 of the migration from Nova Time to UKG. We set up the new time clocks, and now we are working with UKG on the actual migration from Nova Time to UKG. And this is more, it's a bigger process than we expected, so we're working on it right now. The finance department, we are always reviewing our banking relationships, and last year we secured a new banking relationship with Metropolitan for higher rates, where we have all our reserves in there, you know, earning higher rates. So those were our accomplishments for 2025. Our 2026 goals, our goal is always to maintain the AAA because that saves us money on the interest expense when we issue bonds and bond anticipation notes. Our goal is to continue with the highest standards in recording and reporting financial transactions with the purpose of accurate and transparent reporting of town audited financials. That is in my mind every day when we are posting cash receipts, cash disbursements, journal entries. We strive to maintain the backup documentation for every journal entry. We have supporting documentation for every activity that we post in the accounting department. The third item is to increase opportunities to make our collections more efficient. In sanitation, I would like to, we implemented credit card collections with the sanitation department in the year before, but there is a next step that we can do, that we can take, which is to automate the monthly statements for the accounts. So I needed to work with the software company to accomplish that. It would avoid our department, sanitation department, to mail all the statements. And it would also allow those people that have accounts to pay online, which would make things more efficient. My dream project is to assist the town clerk in setting up the credit debit card payments. We're working on it. We're moving forward with that. Then the step 2 for the migration on the timekeeping, we're working on that as well. The other goal that I have is to provide training to the departments in how to use our financial software, Munis. It's a very intimidating software, but once you get the hang of it, you'll end up loving it. So, and this way, if the departments know how to access the information, instead of calling me or somebody in my staff, oh, did we issue payment to this vendor? They can actually look it up themselves. So I would like to do more of that, to do more training. And my dream project is to have the invoices that are paid in our town clerk's office to be scanned. All the supporting documentation could be scanned and attached to the invoices, the electronic records in Munis, which would save us, we would have the records easily available. So if somebody calls me or reaches out to us and says, oh, why did we pay this bill? Can I see the backup documentation? We don't have to ask Lynn at the town clerk, oh, can you go downstairs to the lower level and retrieve voucher number, blah, blah, blah. We can actually ourselves access that record in Munis, and that would be great for us, but also for the auditors. The auditors would not spend a whole week long downstairs looking through the records, the paper records. So that's my dream project. So our 2024-25 stats, you can see we do about 50-some bank reconciliations per month. You know, I'm just gonna let you see the numbers, but I wanna touch bases on the tax dollars dispersed. So the town of East Hampton, we provide assessment, tax collection, and tax distribution, not only for the town, but also to the school districts and fire departments. So when people look at their tax bill, they think, oh my goodness, I'm paying all this money to the town. But it's not all money going to the town. So this year, the amount payable to the town supervisor from the tax receiver's office is $222.8 million. Out of that, $141.7 million is going to the school districts and libraries. 63% of the tax collection is going to the school districts. 14.3 is going to the fire departments. 6.4% is going to the fire departments. The town itself is getting 29.79% of our collections, and the county is getting 0.15%. So I just wanted to share that with, you know, with the town board and also to the public, because you know, I think this is important. It's a lot of money. It's $222.8 million, and we collect the money. You know, the tax receiver collects payments. She sends the funds to us here, to the town supervisor, and then we wire the funds to all the school districts. We pay all the fire departments, and we transfer all the funds to all the appropriate, you know, funds, general fund, all the street lighting districts, sanitation, highway, and those are the monies that are providing the services to our citizens.
Neji, I'm so sorry, but would you just mind repeating the percentages to the different municipal entities? I just want to make sure I got that correct.
Sure. Okay. So the school districts are getting $141.7 million, which is 63.6%. The fire departments are getting a total of 14.3 million, 6.45%. The town is receiving 66.3 million, 29.79%. And the county, it's $345,000, which is 0.1%. So out of the $222.8 million that the tax receiver is sending to the town supervisor for the collections, only 30% is really funds that are being provided from the taxpayers to the town.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The other item that I would like to discuss is interest rates, because so I just want to report that in New York Class, we are earning about 3.5%. It's daily compounded interest. With Dime Bank, we are earning 1.71%. With M&T, we are earning 1.87%. And the new bank that we started banking with last year, Metropolitan, we are earning 2.75, which is going up because I've been talking to our bank rep, and he's going to give us a better rate because we got a better situation with the collateral. requirements. So we are going to be able to earn better interest. And that's all I have to report. And thank you very much. It's an honor working for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Neji. Does anyone have questions or comments for Neji?
I do have a few. Sorry, Nish, just follow up.
Sure.
Just Metropolitan Bank, just the new bank. I don't know them. I assume they've been around a long time. What sort of insurance is there on our investments with such a
Sure,
bank?
yes. So all our deposits by general municipal law have to be secure, 100%. So we have a letter of credit with the Metropolitan Bank. That's our collateral. We have also a letter of credit with Dime Bank. We have a mixture of collateral and securities, but we reconcile those collateral, bank balances versus collateral every month. And we make sure that the agreements that we have with these banks are followed, and every penny we have is collateralized.
Great. Thank you. Second point was, a lot of your scanning of documents, et cetera, digitization. I'm going to be doing an update on that in the liaison report, but I think it'd be helpful to have you in that group as we kind of move forward with that, because obviously there's a lot of benefits your department can get there.
Thank you.
Like sanitation, automation, again, we're moving in that direction. And I think we're seeing the success from the town clerk where he's done that with town parking. It's definitely a way to go forward where we can with our permits. So I'm supportive of that.
Thank you.
Look, overall, I think really great job. The AAA rating is hugely important,
Yes.
because it affects our borrowing costs. And so maintaining that is critical. I will say from a software perspective, I get why you like Munis, because it's very detail focused, but I have real concerns about the summary reporting of it. When you go through, and I've had some back and forth with you on this, I try and put together some report. It takes some time to kind of, for what I consider our management level to be able to drill down to where we need to be looking at that.
Sure.
We need to get that from my perspective on a summary report on a monthly basis, because by department, and we need to see where you're spending very clearly, where are you at your budget, and it's just I need that. I think it's good operation.
So maybe you and I can meet, and I can show you. I can give you a tour through Munis. Because there are ways there are better ways. Actually, I helped the auditors this last 2 weeks ago. I showed them something and they were like, oh my goodness, I wish we knew this. We were auditing another client with Munis. If we knew this feature, it would have been a lot helpful. So I have some tricks up my sleeve that I can share with you.
I think, right now you're sending out the monthly budget summary report to us.
Yep.
I think it would be really helpful, and we talked about this previously, if we could get that summary report when it gets sent out as well.
Okay, we can work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neji.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neji. Thank your staff as well for all the work that you do. It's the foundation of everything we do is sound finances, so thank you for all your work.
Okay, next up is Jeannie Carrozza with the Purchasing Department. Welcome back, Jeannie.
Again, my mission statement basically the same year after year, basically stating that the department dedicates itself to the procurement of the right goods and services at the right price for the various town departments in a timely manner, assuring prudent and economical use of public monies while upholding all laws and regulations of New York State general municipal law and the town of East Hampton in the process. I know sometimes people get angry at me because things don't turn around as quickly as they'd like to see, but I just want to make sure we're doing it the right way. And we also have the purchasing policy, town purchasing policy, which we update annually, and that is approved at the organizational meeting at the board meeting in January. The accomplishments for 2025, I just want to say the purchasing department is sort of behind the scenes and things that happen, so we're sort of like the middlemen, but we have a lot of stuff going on in the background. This past year, 2025, we solicited 58 bids. They range from getting dairy products for human services to recently the Carl Fisher House renovation in Montauk, which is a huge project. 8 RFPs and processed close to 3,000 purchase orders. And that's a lot of stuff. But anyway, we are a green certified from New York State, furthering the town's sustainability goals. I work with the departments on like human service with getting compostable, like the forks and knives and plates and all that stuff, to the green mowers we see out here and the leaf blowers and that type of thing. We organized another successful paper shredding event in the fall for the community, which is great, and hopefully we can do that again. And just the security of the townspeople, knowing that they can watch all of their confidential documentation being shredded at that point, was very exciting for everybody, believe it or not. The purchasing department employees, again, were successful in acquiring scholarships to support the education. This helps us to stay above board with all the rules and regulations come down our way. And it's because of the great association we belong to, which is SAMPO, that they have scholarships available to the different towns. So we put in our applications, and we have to volunteer at the different conferences and stuff in order to be awarded these scholarships. And the staff members who go, we do moderate the different classes. We volunteer at the registration table just to help out, and it affords us these scholarships for the conferences. I found some new bids to use for the departments using cooperative contracts, and one of the new bids resulted in a rebate check we received for over $1,000. So that was great. It was very exciting. And we implemented a comprehensive telephone audit, which the town saves approximately $3,000 annually on phone services. And right now we increase the town bids through BidNet, which is attracting more vendors in some of the larger projects. We oversaw a public auction conducted by Lisa Valsich, a member of the purchasing department, along with Ricky Town, which is the fleet manager. And we received over $114,000 in revenue from obsolete and surplus items. And basically, those are some of the accomplishments for 2025. And our 2026 goals are, again, the continued training for purchasing staff and the town departments. I aim to reduce paper usage by scanning all bids and RFPs in 2026. So we did receive a new scanner, so we'll have everything digitized there. And looking for options for accepting RFPs electronically, because when we receive RFPs, we get boxes of just proposals, and there's a lot of paper waste. We'd like to do online auction again, and working with the audit firm to reduce utility expenses, specifically cable this time. So hopefully that will work out. And the goal is always to save taxpayers' money. And that's it.
Questions for Jeannie? Jeannie, I'm going to reach out to Lieutenant Alversa to find out when we're going to be doing Drug Take Back Day in October, and maybe we can coordinate and do the shredding event the same day. We did that the first time, and I think it's better to have them both on the same
definitely,
day.
yep.
So maybe we can lock in a date for October for shredding.
Sounds good. All righty.
All right.
So if I could talk just about one of the bids that we're rejecting today, hence this Abraham's Path, came in over budget. What I do appreciate is conversations that you have with me about ways that we can try again, try different various ways to try to save the taxpayer money, but at the same time, complete the projects then too. We've done that in multiple projects together, and I know that how busy you are up in the office yourself and your department too. So Jeannie, I appreciate you taking my phone calls, and sometimes agree to disagree on things, but we work through them together. So so in front of everyone, I want to make sure you're recognized, and Lisa is too. Thank you.
Thank you. Honest.
I mean, the RFP process, which is so important for municipalities to adhere to, so that that bid process is fair and the determinations are made by a systematic review rather than any other way. And actually, I've learned that process from you.
You've been part of a couple, and it's
Since I've
takes a
been
while.
elected, and you run a really tight ship, and it really has become, it's really apparent working with you over time how important it is for you to run that the way that you enforce, and you do enforce it to the nth degree, which I'm very appreciative of. From the scoring, the way that we have to score, I mean, you adhere to every step. So that this process, although isn't public facing, can be totally transparent and understood by all parties. And then there's the also follow-up that you do with even with bids that have, the folks that didn't win the bid that applied, to go over, to take the time to, with everything else that you do, to go over the why the scoring and where they came out at, so that, you know, it's just, you provide so much information while you're collecting information, and I want to thank you for that. And of course, all your green initiatives to promote sustainability in an area that I have trouble with, paper buildup. So the more we
It's tough.
digitize, the better. Yeah. Thank you, Jean.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, thanks.
Jeannie. Okay, and now we're going to hear from our tax receiver, Christine Schnell. Welcome, Christine.
Lovely to see everyone. So our mission statement in the tax office is to calculate, generate, and distribute the property tax bills. We receive the assessment rates from the tax assessor's office. We receive the budget information from all the different municipalities, and I spend half of October and all of November getting a little gray hair, adding it all up, because this year it was $243,706,444.86. And as Neji broke that down for you, a lot of it, most of it goes to the school districts and libraries. We also send money to fire protection and fire districts, the town and the part town, so the A and B parts of the budget. Sanitation, which is refuse, the highway department. The lighting district only gets $195,000, but it would be really dark here without our streetlights. And Suffolk County receives over $8 million of that $243 million.
Can I ask a question, just Christine, about Suffolk County? Does that include the hotel tax also, or is that just the property taxes?
That's just property tax related. The hotel tax is totally separate.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I appreciate it too. So I know people always ask, well, where do you come up with these rules and these dates? And, you know, like, I just thought of it. No, not the truth. We follow the laws and rules of New York State, specifically the real property tax law. And in Suffolk County, we also have the Suffolk County Tax Act, which because our rules are a little bit different than some of the other counties and how they collect their taxes and when they collect them. So, in 2025, I had 2 staff members leave the office. We were extremely lucky to find 2 highly qualified local candidates to fill their positions. We also filled part-time positions, which we do every year. Part-time staff, as we all know, turns over constantly. So I have to say December was a little interesting as we were all learning our roles and responsibilities, and being the one person in the office who knew 99% of the answers. You know, it was definitely interesting, but now things are running like clockwork. Everyone has stepped into their role unbelievably well, and I am so thankful for all of your guys' help in that and everything that we've done to get everybody up to speed. So hiring those 2 gals was awesome. We spend a lot of time trying to increase the public's knowledge about our different ways that you can pay your taxes. By the way, they're due June 1st, which is right after Memorial Day. It's the last day Monday.
We should do a social media post on that.
We could.
Yeah.
We have our online payment portal. We get a lot of people that call the office, and myself or my staff literally coach them through the steps to get them to payment, which is very helpful to them. It's helpful for us. And then the next time they're able to do it themselves, which is the goal. We work to increase the reliability of your payment, the safety of your payment, and the ease of your payment. And that's what our major goal is, to make paying your taxes easier. We even have a candy bowl, which everybody appreciates when they come in the office. One of the issues that came up was we used to take people's credit card and checking information in the office. They would call us and during COVID, and we would literally write it down and enter them. And it turned out, well, first, it's not safe. And second, it's against banking regulations. So we searched for ways to solve that issue. And through Forte, who's our credit card processing company, they have a system, it's called IVR. It's a payment system where you make a phone call into a private structured line. It did take nearly 2 years with Forte to get the system to work properly with Munis, because I'm not with Munis, with Govern, which is our financial software. We went through, I don't know, 4 different managers with Forte and finally got it to work. It's been excellent for people who are out of the country because you cannot make an online payment from out of the country. So we've been recommending that to people, and it's been working well. I'm happy to say that my staff provides excellent customer service. They're very approachable. They reach outside to try to help people. A lot of people call our office for all different kinds of things. Sanitation permits, beach permits, building permits. Wait, where'd the building department go? There's a sign on the door, it's that way. So there's a lot of that as well, which we're happy about. For 2026, we're going to continue training and cross-training of our staff. We want to deepen the bench strength of the team. The more people know, the better they're able to help our taxpayers and help our fellow employees. We're going to continue to increase the public's knowledge and use of our online payment and information systems. This year, and even more so this coming in 2026, we're transitioning the tax billing from Govern to Open Forms, which is the newer version of Govern. I did our tax bills this year in Open Forms, and it speeded up my process by about 20% just in the amount of time it takes for the system to calculate. Because every time I make a change to a rate on a tax line, it would take like an hour and a half to get the result of that change. Now I get it in about 20 minutes. So that was much better for me. As there are changes in software and there's changes in regulations and changes in safety for online security, we will be changing our processes, obviously, to go along with those. Our goal is to make your payment experience seamless and the most secure that it could be. I do have some stats that we started putting together this year. I know that you asked me last year. About 41% of our payments are web payments, mean online. Right now, the IVR, the phone system, is only at 1%, but I'm sure that's going to increase. The Dime Lockbox service, which is the envelope that comes with your tax bill that's addressed to Newark, New Jersey, that's about 23 to 24% of our payments. You can go into Dime Bank and make your payment there. That's about 3% of payments, and that is any Dime branch now. It used to just be the East End branches, but now you can go to one in the city or Melville and make your payment as long as you have your tax bill stub. They will take it. And last, believe it or not, we get 32% of our payments are people that come into the office to make their payment. And we know a lot of people come into the office, but we were surprised that it was 32% choose to come into the office to personally make their payment. I think a major reason for that is that mail has become problematic. The new postal regulations where your envelopes are not being postmarked the day that you are putting that in the post box caused a lot of people to have to pay penalties this year, and a lot of sadness for them. And we don't take any joy in it, obviously, but it's our job and we do it. So I would suggest that if you're going to mail your payment, that you literally walk into your post office with your envelope and have them hand stamp it with the date, especially the closer and closer it gets to the deadline date.
Or send is registered mail. I mean,
Yeah.
the relatively low cost
Yeah.
may save you a lot of money in the long run.
We always advise people to use return receipt or certified mail, UPS or FedEx, because those are valid timestamps, state stamps, USPS stamp. That works. So I don't have to have it in the office on June 1st, but it has to be in the care of the Postal Service or one of those services with that stamp on it. A lot of mail is coming with no stamp on it at all. And B, if you use your online bank bill pay service, please don't do that, because those are not stamped 100%. They take the money directly out of your account, so you think it's paid, but they don't send us that check for a few days, and there's no postmark on it. So when I get it on June 10th, even though you initiated a transfer on May 28th, I feel terrible for you, but there's nothing that I can do.
So I paid both, sorry, are you complete?
I'm done.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the explanations of how the department runs, specifically to individuals out there that we're looking to modernize potentially how they might do business with the town. I think the modernization of government is something that, you know, the administration's been working on for years now. And two, I've been able to use that for my family through the process of online payments for our tax bills to get in front of it. My pops, you know, octogenarian, you know, he wants to see pen and paper, and to get him comfortable with that, it was a little bit different in the explanations of it. But the ease of doing it, the time saved in explaining how to do it online, I had to explain to him how we did it and why it's okay. And I think that hopefully that number of 32% that walks to the door or 23% that might send in, those numbers hopefully will start skewing to the online effect, because it's a viable, safe option, very similar to getting your online resident beach parking permit now then too. So I appreciate that. I would highly recommend it also, because I've done it personally a couple of years now and it was quite easy. So thank you again, Christine.
Welcome.
Chris, I'll jump on quickly. I just want to say well done.
Thank you.
Like you had a really tough time of it there for a bit.
We did.
And, you know, you put you on your toes and you've responded well. You put together a good team over there. Things have improved. And, you know, I look forward to continuing to see that. So well done to you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I have a question for you. So I attend the Suffolk County Supervisors meeting, and Supervisor Panico from Brookhaven and Schaefer from Babylon say that when they send their tax bills out, they have a pie chart in the envelope or on the back of the page that has what percentage goes to what entity, right? So for me in Springs, when I get my tax bill, 71% goes to the school. So the pie chart would show for my address, 71% is school, you know, and library, you know, what is the county, what is the town, what are any special districts?
Yeah, because that would literally change for
every tax bill would be different.
Right. So we have we have a sheet that's online that shows all those numbers, but
I guess what I'm asking, if you could reach out to the tax receivers in Babylon and Brookhaven and see how they do it, and see if it's something that could just, you know, maybe
because I know in
because
the
the
budget,
percentages on, you know, the percentages on your tax bill. Right? It tells me
it's
what
all right there.
percentage is going to the school.
But sometimes people like to see the.
Yeah, they do it as a pie chart so folks can understand where their tax monies are going.
To. I know that it's done in the budget, right, Najee? She's still, in all the budget documents, but I don't think it breaks it down by each district for each bill, because each bill is different.
Yeah, no, but it's already doing the calculation, right? Because it's on your front of your bill. So now it would just be you'd flip your bill over and you'd see the pie chart that demonstrates 71% is school and library and.
I will reach out to the tax receiver and get a copy of what they put
Yeah,
on
it's
there and
Babylon
see
and
how they do
Brookhaven
it.
that are doing it.
I know both of them.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay.
I also I wanted to say, open forums, I'm very happy that you've had a positive experience with that as you started to move over. I know that's been out there for a while.
Yes.
Change is hard, but there's other offices too in govern, and we all have to move to open forums. And I think that a big part of that starts with your office. Do you think that that is realistic to be completed in 2026?
Completed? After my IVR experience, I'm not gonna like hang my hat on it.
But it's a goal.
It is a goal. We're like literally moving, I'm gonna call it module by module, because I found when I was doing the tax bills that they make little changes in the program. And when you're looking at it, you're like, okay, I need to look for this because this is what I needed to do. But then I found out that, okay, now this used to be option A and option B and option C, but now there's only option and it's A and B together and C. But wait, I only need A. So then I have to call and go through the background with the developers and make sure that I think I'm clicking A because I need the numbers to do this, but now you're telling me the number is going to do A and B, but I only need A. What do we have to do to make it just A? So there's a lot of behind the scenes customization that goes on for each municipality. So it really is going to depend on how much of that we need to get done.
Yeah, it's always hard in the process, and there'll be details that need to be worked out, but I think it's great that you started that, and I think that ultimately, when we do make the transition, I think things will become easier and more efficient and faster, as your experience has been.
I mean, absolutely.
With the first
Just
part.
in the processing of the figures was amazing.
So anything I can do to help support that transfer, would love it, because then, the assessors and other departments will get on open forums too. It's a transition we have to make, and I think once we get through the difficulty of the actual transition, we'll all be better off.
Yes.
Great,
All right.
thank you,
Thank
Christine.
you. Have a good Memorial Day.
Yes.
Thank you, you too.
Okay, next up is an update on the 2026 beach season. John, if you could please pull up that PowerPoint. And David, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so very much. I am here joined with John Rooney, who is our Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, and Tim Treadwell, who's our Chief Harbor Master. And yes, this is Memorial Day weekend, which is the unofficial start to summer out here. The weather has only started to kick off, and I think it's just one of those seasons in which we are going to be going directly into summer, maybe without a spring. But again, we'll see how the weather pertains. Again, every year, what we've been doing recently is making sure that our internal working beach advisory group is coordinating to make sure that our beaches are prepared, safe for the summer season. So Tim, if you might want to come up with us, and we'll scroll through this. Once again, the East Hampton Town's Beach and Parks Recreation Advisory Group, myself, we work with Chief Sarlo, John Rooney, Steve O'Brien from Buildings and Grounds, Tim Treadwell, John Ryan Jr., who unfortunately couldn't be here due to family obligations, Francis Bach, Clerk of the Trustees, and also others on here in advisory capacities. I want to thank them all for their time and assistance in keeping the beaches open and safe. Next, please. Thank you, sir. Again, the mission is convened upon the request of the town council to consider the uses of the town beaches, parks, recreational areas, make recommendations for safe use. Again, this came out actually during COVID, is when we actually put our beach advisory group together, because there was a lot of different regulations being passed down from the governor's office at that time that we had to adhere to be able to get the beaches open at that time. Next, please. The Beach Action Advisory Plan will include the 2026 beach operating permits, which we have received. John will go over those, and we have them at the end here. Recommendations from our lifeguarded beach operation areas, our safety protocols, comfort station openings, utilizations of Park Mobile, once again, staffing levels are maintained for all departments, and again, the continued coordination between agencies and towns departments to make sure that the town's 2026 operational plans and policies are put forward then too. too. Again, this is something that you've heard, Madam Supervisor, and the board members from other departments recently, is in that the coordination of the departments is extremely important to make everything for the residents and the visitors safe and operational. Thank you. One more, sir. John, do you want to start rolling through these ones, if you don't mind, sir? Again, John Rooney, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, which the town's lifeguard programs are remembered under.
Morning. I didn't like the COVID reminder.
Yeah.
I thought of the polls.
10-foot poles. Yeah, remember we walked the beach with 10-foot poles.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Yes.
we did a lot of stuff that summer. Yeah, 2 summers.
But it worked.
Oh, yeah.
It worked well.
Yeah. Okay, so we're just giving the schedule of what's opening up starting this weekend. We go for weekends only for the first couple of weeks, and then we hit mid-June, then we go what I call full throttle, where everything's opened up. So this weekend we'll be opening up 4 Ocean Beach locations with a lifeguard stand. That's Indian Wells, Atlantic Avenue, South Edison, and Ditch Plains, and also one of the bay beaches at Big Alberts. And then when we get the 13th of June, that's a Saturday, and we start opening up the other locations. So Kirk Park opens up, Motel Row, at South Edison, which is already open, but then we also have Gin Beach and then the other bay beaches as well. So everything gets open at that time. Go to the next slide. All right, so recommendations for the Garda Beach operations. So continue to have coordination between the East Hampton Town Marine Patrol and the East Hampton Town Volunteer Ocean Rescue when needed. Drone technology will be utilized for life-saving needs and dangerous marine life observations. Installation of the ADA beach mats, which is going on now. Training and testing of new and current lifeguards, which is also going on now. Continue use of ATV vehicles to guard beaches, and outreach campaigns for residents about beach conditions. We'll be posting at beaches QR codes like you see there on the right, which you can click on and get water temperatures and what's happening. And we're also going to have the live boards, which we talked about as well, where we handwrite what the conditions are at the beaches. So we're going to be doing that this summer. And the next slide. This is the East Hampton Town lifeguards, just some general information. The town of East Hampton is fully staffed with lifeguards for the season. We're still working through that process, but things are looking strong at the moment. The back beach emergency travel lanes will be strictly enforced as we do each summer.
Can we just explain that again? In this picture, you might be able to see there's a white post there, which is typically closer to the dune line.
Yep.
We don't always do that at ditch because the width of that beach doesn't really allow for it, but the other bay beaches, so we request that individuals don't place their beach gear in those locations so we can get emergency access vehicles in and out in a safe response time.
Yep.
Thank you.
And then we also have wound packing and tourniquet kits, which we had started last year, will be deployed, and then they'll get extra training on how to use those for when needed. And East Hampton Town lifeguards will also be teaching as usual. We're going through our personal watercraft rescue operators course, and we get agencies from across Long Island come out and get trained by us, which is very important program. So it helps other agencies as well besides our own.
John, can you just, before we go, well, one more back if you don't mind, sir. Equipment here, I know our ski-doos and personal watercraft, we've procured them also for this calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
Great, because I knew we had a couple of issues with those in the past procurement. I know we have all our equipment in place also then too, and new rescue vehicles that will be coming also. Just to go back to the drone, we actually did receive a drone, I believe it was earlier last year, or maybe end of the year prior to that. That was actually a grant that was awarded to us by the governor about a drone program because of a lot of the dangerous marine animals, if you want to say. And now we have drones in all our sectors and are using them very, very proactively then too. Thank you. We'll go to the next slide here. I'll cover this one with the buildings and grounds, working with Steve O'Brien. We have new beach rules and information signs that we put at the road ends, and then the 2024, we can continue to install more of those. That all of our beach road ends have been rechecked on there for updating the town's codes, as those always change sometimes in the years. The staffing levels are sufficient for the increased workload for refuse removal. Remember last year, we were looking at 19 tons of garbage removed from our beaches and infrastructure repairs. The morning beach trash runs in Montauk are staffed and will be implemented. I also want to thank the town board. We recently just went out and received our new, sorry, I don't know if we've received it, but we got a new beach rake that is coming in and being deployed, and those are being upkept. Also, those are extremely important, and those staff members are prepared to go out on those beaches, specifically in Montauk and Amagansett, very early in the morning. Our custodial staff levels are sufficient for the increased frequency of bathroom cleanings, which is needed. And the comfort stations will be again closed at the night and reopened early morning by town staff through a coordinated effort. This will keep our vandalism levels low, which there were minor instances of that last year. We also installed cameras outside of some of our bathrooms, but we found out nothing really good goes on after midnight sometimes. I want to thank Steve O'Brien. I just also want to go about it's not a building and ground aspect of it, but the Army Corps of Engineers is actually in Montauk today. They're reviewing some of the 3 crossovers. I believe those are at Embassy, Edgemere, and 3 of the 4 are complete, where they removed some of the dilapidated, damaged crossovers from the stabilization project, I believe in 2009. And they're still waiting to complete the project from down at Lowenstein in that court there. That might not be completed until after this weekend. There's a 1 o'clock call today. I won't be able to make it, but I'll let the board know. But to the general public, all those points are open. Thank you. We'll go next. Tim?
Good morning. The East Hampton Police and Marine Patrol, we are, as our mission is to ensure public safety on our beaches and waterways. We're going to continue to do that. We would not be successful in doing that if it wasn't for the cooperation of all these other agencies that are listed here that are part of the Beach Committee, particularly the East Hampton Lifeguards, East Hampton Volunteer Ocean Rescue, Buildings and Grounds. We get a lot of assist from them when we have a problem on the beach, the Coast Guard, and everyone involved. We constantly communicate with each other, all of the different departments. We have weekly public safety meetings where we go over all this stuff, which is very, very helpful. We have sufficient staff levels for the season. We have sufficient staff levels to have sufficient beach patrols as well as boat patrols. Looking forward to hiring 2 new full-time harbor masters to augment those patrols even further. This season, we are working on that. The new boater safety law went into effect last year. We instructed a record number of boating safety classes last year, did 5 boating safety classes. I haven't quite seen the interest in it this year. I think a lot of people got it done. A lot of people also that were the last group to be grandfathered into that, reached out. And it's interesting in teaching a lot of those classes, a lot of people that thought they knew everything because they've been working on the water or been on the water for 50 years said, I actually got something out of your class, Tim. So that made me feel good. So if anyone's interested in a boater safety course, you can email me at my email listed on the slide, and I will, once I gauge there's enough interest, I will happily put on another boater safety class free to the public.
Tim, how is Marine One doing?
Marine One's excellent. Marine One is our favorite vessel currently. It runs great. It's fast. It's a true asset.
And I know, and the reason why I mentioned that Marine One is one of our new ships that the supervisor actually moved forward. They got here in a quicker fashion. I believe there was a death just recently of a drowning on Shelter Island this past weekend on there. And so Marine One is one of our fastest boats to be able to put that out there with the help of the Coast Guard and others for any type of search and rescues on there then too.
Yes.
That's good.
Right after we got it, we had a very legit search and rescue case that if we hadn't found those two individuals, it could have been a negative versus a positive outcome. So Marine One came through right away.
If I could just add one to this slide, the information is that for beach driving permits, particularly for resident beach driving permits, all resident beach driving permits have to be renewed this year as it is a calendar year 26 after the 25. So please make sure you get those. Anyone that drives their vehicles on the beach, please make sure you have the proper equipment in there, which also includes tow ropes and actually a fire extinguisher too. That was new to the code.
Correct.
Thank you. Next. Tim, you want to go through the trustees and our coordination with trustees?
You know, we have a partnership in the stewardship of our beaches and waterways with the trustees. We act as their enforcement arm. You know, we enforce their regulations pertaining to small craft storage, pertaining to moorings and all of that. We work very well with them and very closely with them. And also we do a lot of shellfish enforcement. Of course, we checked over 300 permits, over 300 shellfish permits last year. So we work very closely with the trustees. You know, we're really the ones out on the beach, monitoring the beach fires, monitoring beach driving, monitoring, you know, any illegal camping or anything like that we find out there. So we do a lot of work on that also. Between myself and Steve O'Brien, you know, we also handle the pump out dock when that, you know, has a problem or something. It's a partnership again between, you know, Steve and myself and the trustees trying to get that going. You know, I know that the trustees do a lot of work in monitoring water quality as well. Obviously, I'm a big fan of good water quality, you know, and you know, we also do a lot of enforcement, making sure that people aren't pumping out into our harbors in our no discharge zones, you know, to continue having good water quality. Very important to everyone, of course, in town.
That's right. And that's one of the main things that Clerk of the Trustees, Francis Bach, wanted to make sure that they're going to continue to monitor those throughout the course of the seasons on there. Thank you very much. Next. John, you want to come in and talk about the town's recreational department and our beaches and our programs?
Sure. So just as a reminder, there's no parking in reserved town lifeguard parking spaces, and that will be strictly enforced. I mean, just helps to allow our lifeguards to get in and out easily. So just ask to please don't park in those areas. We'll be continuing our lifeguard, junior lifeguard programs. Right now, we're going through getting the kids assessed whether or not they can then join that program. This summer it's going on at the Y, so it just kind of one program goes into the next. We also have our nippers are also part of that program as well, which is the younger group. And then we have our town open water swim training program that Kimmy Treadwell runs up at Big Alberts, and we run 2 sessions, 2 5-week sessions during the summer. We also have our usual summer recreation swimming instruction that's free, ages 4 and up. It starts at Havens Beach for 2 weeks, then goes to Maidstone, then goes out to Gin, and then back to Big Alberts. And we're adding this year the Beach Garden water safety program for adults. We had started that last summer as a pilot program. It was very popular. And all these programs are available right now if you want to sign up online. And we have currently our 4 same zones for Park Mobile, where you can pay for daily parking through an app at Atlantic Avenue Beach, Kirk Park Beach, South Edison, and also South Elmwood in the streets out in Montauk Village. So it makes it easy to pay for parking if you don't have a beach sticker.
But Atlantic Avenue is 5 days a week, right? It's just weekdays?
Correct.
And the others are 7 days a week?
The other ones, yes, yeah.
Correct, and there's the options paying there for 4 hours or also 8 hours during there, and it's actually been very helpful for us also.
Yeah, for South Edison and for South Elmwood. Yeah, so you have a 4-hour option and 8-hour option.
Yeah, and it's been very helpful for offsetting the budget for community beautification projects too.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Next on there. We have a new public restroom and parking map that we'll be posting out there to the Chamber of Commerce and others then too. This is something that we've had in the past, but we updated it for parking that we can get to our residents and our visitors and our business owners. As Tom is a business owner in Montauk, you probably get asked to use where the bathroom is a lot.
Very frequently.
So we'll get this pushed out. I want to thank the town board and the supervisor for helping on that initiative. Next, if you don't mind.
Just one comment on that map, and just going forward, it'd be great to have the proposed police precinct on there as well.
Sure, we have that vector and we can change it when we're ready. Sounds good. As I have the Army Corps of Engineers calling me right now. Okay, so let's continue to move on. These are our beach permits here. These are beach operating permits, which we have to apply for every year. Successfully, we have those. Thank you. We can just keep moving forward on that. More? Great, we're all ready to go. Again, as always, swim near lifeguards, be respectful of others, and clean up after your litter. I want to thank all our departments. I know the supervisor will chime in here also for the collaboration that we have on there, specifically all our town lifeguards. We have some of the most beautiful beaches in the world right now. The town of East Hampton is prepared for the visitors for the summer season, and specifically also to help out the residents on there. We know one of our greatest resources is our beaches, but we want to make them protected and attractive. And that means we make sure they're cleaned, they're guarded, and the laws are enforced. One last one I'll put into here right now. We should be finishing up about the Ditch Plains not beach nourishment, the dune nourishment. That should be complete by tomorrow, and the beach will be fully open, and the parking lot will be open by Thursday is what we're anticipating right now then too. That project is going full steam ahead then too. The vendors will be back in those locations then too. Madam Supervisor, thank you very much.
Thank you, David. And we're going to be sending out a press release and on what our plans are for Memorial Day weekend moving forward, like we do every year.
Thank you. Just
questions?
Yeah, I mean, two things. One, Tim, I think it might be helpful just for the public to report surf operations on beaches that have got special events permits, what you're looking for with those operators, just so the public knows too, because we've recently got a lot of feedback about surf operations on different beaches. So, so people know, like, look, if it's an official surf operation, how will they recognize it? What will kind of be key signs with the rash guards, et cetera?
Correct. Sure. So you would like me to?
Yeah, just give a summary of how you're regulating that, those operations.
Absolutely. Happy to do that.
Okay. And then the other one is just on the ABCs, on that last page. Just want to consider one change here. It's like not clean up your litter, but clean up any litter you see, guys. Like, look, it's some of it is by accident. And when you see it, I know when I see it out there, it just makes you angry. And if you walk by it, you're not fixing it. So just clean up the litter instead of your litter would be my only change there.
That works.
I like it. And May is Water Safety Awareness Month. Yes, thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're moving right along. Next up is Andy Drake. And Andy, this is gonna be a delight for everyone. You want to explain what you've been up to?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I got lucky today. I have the best topic. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone else.
Yours, so I mean, it's
yeah. I have the pleasure of highlighting a couple of our most visited properties.
Andy, if you don't mind, Andy Drake is one of our land stewards from our Department of Land Management and Acquisition on there then too, along with himself, Scott Wilson, and Andy Gates also. They help, and other staff members there, they help make sure we have wonderful trails, parklands, and stewardship then too. Working with Tom also coming forward with an idea that came out of the Disabilities Advisory Committee then too, to try to highlight some of our publicly accessed trails that have ADA components on there. We thought it'd be nice to put up some visual references to the town's website, working with John Rooney with Parks. Overall, I think what happened, Madam Supervisor, they came out better than we can imagine, and we wanted to put it in front of the public to see what their town taxpayer goes to, because some of these locations are wonderful. They're pocket parks. You almost want to keep it quiet, but at the same time, we do want to promote and let the residents know what's out there. Thank you very much, Andy.
Of course. David, like you said, our department does manage over 6,000 acres of preserve land, and typically our work is on more rustic single-track trails and more wild spaces. The two properties that are listed in the title of this presentation, Buckskill Meadow Preserve and Boys and Girls Harbor Park, those are both collaborative properties that we manage with the Parks Department. With a focus on ADA accessibility, of course. These, we have these paved paths. In each location, they're about a half-mile in length, 8 feet wide. They accommodate mothers with strollers and folks in wheelchairs, and they're essentially tick-free ways to get out and experience the interior of some of our best properties and areas. So I think they're both a home run, and they've both been such a success. At each location, there's other amenities, like at Boys and Girls Harbor, we have the shade shelter with picnic tables, so a place to kind of settle down for a little bit and have a lunch if you like. There's always plenty of dog walkers at both these locations. At Buckskill Meadow Park Preserve, we have a wonderful disc golf course that was helped get set up by John Rooney here, as well as Scott, who has become quite an enthusiast of playing at the property after hours. It has really turned into such a great property, both of them. And the idea of capturing a virtual experience of these properties and other properties as well, we just kind of kicked it off with these two, being that the focus of the work that we've done so far had to do with ADA accessibility. And so really, I mean, I could let John speak on this if he would like, but the idea came from a disabilities advisory committee meeting where John is involved, and the idea to create these virtual experiences and representations without actually having to go out, where physical access may be more compromised for some.
Yeah, it was part of a brainstorm at a March meeting. Glenn Hall came up with it. I wish I did. And his thing was, it would be helpful for the ADA community, especially if they could be able to experience a park trail or experience the trails. Let's just say they didn't have the confidence to maybe try it, even though it's ADA accessible, so they can at least check it out and maybe say, oh, wait, this is something I could check out. Or any member of the public just wanting to see the parks. And he had that idea, and we were talking about it, and then I reached out to Land Act, and I said, we got a great idea. Can you guys help with this? They jumped at it. And then Andy did his wonderful, and Andy, when you sent it, I was just blown away. I'm so excited for this program, and just to be on the town's website. You can visit, because the original vision for having different pages, web pages for each beach and park around the town, so you can get an idea of what each location is at. Now to have videos like this just blows it up to a whole different level, but especially for this community, and it was just a great idea. So here we are.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Thank you, John, for initiating the project and getting us involved, because we love the idea. Yeah, we really love the idea. And at LTV, if they want to play one of the first couple of videos, we can just have it running. Yeah, there's this ambient music, everybody can relax.
This is at Boys and Girls Harbor Park Preserve, which is purchased in collaboration with the county, with the town, CPF property. There's a pavilion there that you can actually, ADA accessible pavilion that you can reserve if you like to have a gathering of family and friends. Again, it's an asphalted multi-user path that's 8 foot wide, cleared area on each side about 2 feet. What this allows is for the user to go on about a half-mile walking trail through the scenic woodlands on there without actually having interaction, potentially with ticks. And at a surface that is ADA compliant, also at a grade that is ADA compliant, and just for individuals to get into the woods. What's very nice about this location is that it also ties into other natural single track wooded trails that you could take you down to the water if you wanted to go off this this multi-user trail too. This trail has been in location here for about 2.5, maybe 3 years now. It is actually called the Anthony Drexel Duke Trail. You'll see locations in which we start to use the 3D vision on here in declared areas where there used to be either ropes courses or old buildings from when Anthony Duke would use this property to the Boys and Girls Harbor to bring out individuals and children from the city out here to enjoy the experiences here on this trail. Sorry, go off, or is that okay? Actually, we went there as 8th graders too. We did Trust Falls.
So this project, like John mentioned, for the town website, I see this as a broader project in terms of basically, again, I use the word virtual experience, just a representation, a summarization of a property before, if you're curious about visiting. I mean, obviously we have a lot of ecotourism here and folks visiting seasonally. I think we live in the best town on Long Island. I think it's such a great place to live and to visit. And we have such great resources and assets in terms of our public spaces and our trails and paths and beaches, as was discussed earlier. So in terms of the website, and Patrick should get a thank you and a shout out here too, Patrick Dorenz, for creating a town YouTube account, because it just makes posting and sharing these clips so much more easily. But I think the future vision is, we have properties, not only parks, but preserves, such as Shadmore and Turtle Cove and Culloden Point and Grace Estate and Grassy Hollow. I mean, all these large, wonderful properties around town where if there is simply that YouTube link video of something that I can create and have Patrick post, then we can easily share that link directly onto the town website, so that as soon as you pull up the page, say a resident is or anybody is navigating the town website and they go to the page for
Park or Beach,
whatever, Rods Valley Park Preserve, they can click a video and see a 30 or 45 second representation, an overview of drone video and property highlights, and then using some of this. So this footage is captured with a Insta360 camera that I borrowed from a friend. Shout out to Chris Lorenzini. He's a good friend. He's the manager at the Sag Harbor Cinema. I borrowed that from him. It's been given back to him, and we're working on getting one for our department to continue this work. But I just want to say thank you to him. We have a drone for our department, so I've been easily able to capture aerial videos and photography, but splicing the two together creates kind of a really nice summarization of an area. And I'm just very excited. I know John's really excited to share that, where it can basically be, as soon as you open the town webpage, boom, it's right there. If you want to read further on down the way, great, but you get a really good instant snapshot of our town facilities. So there's plenty more to do. I've already captured some of our more primitive single track trails as well, with that camera on a mount on a bike. And it's not difficult to do. The editing process is a little bit more tedious, but I think it's a worthwhile project, and I'm thrilled to be working on this.
Maybe we move on to the next one if you don't mind.
Move on to the next.
So this one's going to just come around. So you're going to see the pavilion coming in.
Sure.
Be perfectly timed.
And then so the next video that can play will be Buckskill Meadow Park Preserve.
We used to play soccer there in the parking lot. Actually, if you look at the parking lot, it still has
right here at Boys and Girls Home.
Yeah, if you look at the parking lot, it still actually has the basketball courts. Yeah. Back when.
So these did come out pretty nicely. I think it's maybe just because of the way I shared it on the OneDrive, it's a little bit glitchy or slowed down in a way. But on the YouTube page, it looks really, really.
And what you see there is a nice individual controlling and leashing their dogs, because these parks have to be controlled and leashed dogs.
Right, and there's the pavilion with the picnic tables.
Exactly. So the next video, if we want to watch, is the Buckskill Meadow Park Preserve right here.
Again, this is the Zachary Cohen Memorial Trail.
Zachary Cohen Memorial Path here is shown.
One of my favorites. This is a beautiful spot.
It's a fantastic spot. And like I said earlier, I think it's one of the most visited properties in town. Every time I go to check in, there's always somebody there. Whether they're playing disc golf or walking, or, I think there's large groups of kids and parents that go to ride bikes and learn how to ride bikes away from traffic.
It's perfect.
I mean,
got an ADA chest set also on the location then too, with the trail that's been installed. And I agree. My wife actually runs these a lot. They're half mile loops. So if you're training, let's say for a 5K or greater, you know exactly what your loops are going to be
If
on.
Tom's out for an 11-mile run, he could do 22 loops of it.
That's where I got this crazy tan from. I was like, you know.
In preparation
And
for
for
the half
folks
marathon.
that are not doing mega miles, a half mile's just
Yeah,
nice.
it's exactly right. What's
Well, I
nice-
mean, I've seen folks come from, Red Horse Market, that area, on their lunch break.
Sure.
And they're doing laps. I know some folks that go every morning and get their walk in that way.
No, listen, I want to thank both the Disability Advisory Committee, John in particular, and Andy for doing this. I think this is just a really good example of some of our ADA access projects we have going on in the town that we continually evolve. I mean, we talked earlier about the Moby mats. We're actually going out on the 28th with that committee just to review potential sites on the bay side where we might be looking to provide ADA access there, because right now we don't have any bay beaches, and with the lower kind of wave action, they might be more applicable and easier for people to swim there. So that's one project we're doing. There's a lot of really great stuff that's coming from this committee. I think one of the next things we're really looking to do, and slightly off tangent here, is introduce the concept of universal building design. Basically changing codes to kind of give better use for everybody, be it people with ADA issues, seniors, young people. There's better ways to build and, better ways to do things. And I think this is just a really good example. The more access we can provide to people and the better we can design our town for people with ADA issues, the better off we're all going to be.
Absolutely.
Especially as our community ages.
So, and creating a virtual experience too is nice. It's great to get out physically and be able to use the properties is great. But I mean, if somebody wanted to set this up on a TV like this and ride a stationary bike or something,
it's honestly mesmerizing. We could be staring at this for hours.
I'm kind of meditating to it.
It's taking everybody's blood pressure down in the room.
Play weekend relaxation.
In the last presentation. I feel so much better.
Yeah, I did want to share a couple of those.
Do you have Rod's Valley?
Yeah, I wanted to share a couple of the shorter summary videos. Look here, so this is about a 45-second video. It's what I was saying for
look at that.
Highlight the property.
And this was a former mine, guy. This was a former gravel mine back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's turned into something incredible.
It's the Coastal Trail.
So just like that, that's the Coastal Trail in Heather Woods. So it's showing access to Heather Woods trails, the Eddie Ecker Memorial Pier. A lot of people confuse this property with Eddie Ecker County Park. Access to Fort Palm Bay. There is a Palm Path campsite there for through hiking purposes only.
Beautiful.
By permit only.
By permit only through our department.
Again, collaboration with the county.
It's very good walking circle too.
Thumbnail. And here's
my other favorite.
But there's so many that
So far, they're all my favorite.
It's a trail. This is Palmanock Path. This is the
great.
end of Palmanock Path, the 125-mile.
Yeah, I want to thank this right there. I want to thank your department for getting out there. We were in conversations with the lighthouse keeper, and then also Greg Donahue and others to try to make sure the access in that location was a little safer.
And this is teamwork. I mean, I was out here the other day on another run, and who did I see but Steve O'Brien out there fixing the bench at the bottom of Turtle Cove. And look, making this town as nice as it is for everybody is an amazing team effort. So takes a village.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, we're considered a small town, even population-wise, but the miles of coastline that we have is huge. And also the amount of people and visitors and the different ways, and you keep improving as you're doing right now, the ways for people to enjoy this treasure is really amazing. And the amount of maintenance, I mean, we don't even really go into that, what it takes for your departments to maintain all the natural beauty without really making the least interruption possible is really amazing. And now I feel like we should really close the meeting.
I'm going to do one quick plug, which if the press wants to pick up would be great, is we are always looking for new members for the Disability Advisory Committee. We've recently had 2 new people sign on, but if anyone is interested in joining that committee, feel free to reach out to Ann Bell. She is the Disabilities Advisory Coordinator.
I have a question, Andy. You did both of those loops clockwise. Is that the way you're supposed to go, or is it counterclockwise? This is sort of a debate on,
It's up to you.
on loop trails. I know there's not a rule, but.
There's no rule,
Just-
but I
you
guess
see-
if I'm riffing here, just thinking about it.
I'm guessing.
I mean, if you're staying on the right, if you're staying on the right to somebody, you're staying on the right side, they're coming on the right side. I guess
Yeah.
it works the same both
Yeah.
directions, but
Okay.
I
So
mean,
no strong opinion.
Yeah.
I feel like
No,
you
I
run
do.
track counterclockwise.
Exactly. And so I was a
that's what I'm
counterclockwise
immediately-
guy, but I might be wrong.
Yeah.
You know what, it's interesting because like at Maidstone Beach, the loop there, like you do it different directions, you see different things.
Yeah.
So,
it's true.
you know, so it's,
Yeah,
I usually mix it up.
I don't think there's a rule at either of those properties. You
Like,
can-
like NASCAR, you only make lefts, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank
I look forward to
you.
seeing more.
Exciting.
Yes.
I'm proud to be doing it. and thank you.
CACs will be thrilled with this when we go to them and tell them about this new tool for everyone too.
I'll
Great.
just keep feeding Patrick videos and he can.
God bless you.
post as you all see them.
Yeah, and we'll also, for sure. Thank you.
great.
And if you need help editing, we can help you with that too.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Take care, Andy.
Thank you,
Take care,
Andy
John.
and John.
Thank you both.
Okay, now we're moving on to the 1904 Osborne Farmhouse Exterior Restoration Project. I know Scott was going to present this, and Ian, we appreciate you stepping in. Scott is on jury duty.
Yes, so, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't
No,
interrupt.
go ahead. So Ted, you're it.
Thanks to Scott Wilson. He put this together along with Drew Bennett, the engineer, and Steward Preservation Services, who it's a organization that consists of a historian and an architect. So they were our historic consultants to make sure that the engineering fit the history. Next slide, please. This is a stage one of the project, and so what we're looking at here are the floor plans, which you'll see are totally empty. The reason we're doing this is because we purchased this property largely because of the property itself, but there's two historic structures, including this house. We realized shortly thereafter that it was not watertight, and so during heavy rains or even moderate rains, there was a leaky roof and leaks in other places, and so we thought the Property Management Committee and Scott Wilson, Department of Land Management, thought it was important that we secure we make it watertight so that there's no further deterioration while we figure out an end user and an end plan with the structure. So that's why we're looking at no floor plans. Next slide. And that's the roof. Keep right on going. You can't see the holes. And we'll just pause here for the rest of it. This is the exterior of the structure. Again, Drew Bennett did the engineering plans in consultation with a historic consultant. The goal here is to replace it or to repair it with as much of the original materials as possible. If you read through the engineering plans, they're pretty dense, but there's a lot of talk about saving this specific piece, saving this specific piece. He went window by window, and the intent is to salvage everything that we can. And there's even a provision there for whoever bids on this, during this decision-making process, they'll come back to the town so that we're aware, what can be salvaged and what needs to be, historic, accurate replica. One of the changes that we are making that's different from what the house currently looks like is it currently has an asphalt roof. Because this was a historic purchase, we're going back to shingled roof, which is more historically proper, even though that's not what currently exists there. And really, there's not a ton more to say other than it's phase one. The intention is to also redo the interior, depending on what the plan is for the property. But I didn't want to wait. The Property Management Committee didn't want to wait on this because, the longer there's rain or water intrusion, I think the more risk there is for a bigger project and a more expensive project. And so Scott and I met with Drew Bennett on site before he did the plans, and he assured us it was possible and not, we're not having to do anything twice by doing a complete exterior and then coming back later and doing the interior. The only thing I'll bring up here, if you scroll, actually, no, leave it right there. If you look at the top right-hand corner, we do have an ADA access ramp. It's anticipated the access is going to be in the rear of this property where parking will be. The front is not likely to be the main entrance, and it's important that the ADA access is wherever the main entrance is. Although I want to throw it out for conversation that it may make sense for us to remove, and I spoke to Scott Wilson about this yesterday, to remove that ramp at this point, even though I think this is the right place, because there's going to be another part of the project. And so maybe it makes sense to actually pair that part, even though it's exterior, with the interior plan so that the flow, because this goes back to what actually used to be the kitchen. I don't think there's going to be a kitchen in this building, but I don't know. And so this is for the board to discuss. My proposal would be actually to remove this before it goes out to bid and do just the exterior, not counting the ADA access.
And then reintroduce the ADA access on completion?
Yeah, no, ADA access has to be part of it, which is why we made it part of this. But because it's not, after this is just to make it watertight. It's not going to be open to the public. It was obviously.
Sorry, I apologize.
No, it's obviously everybody's concerned to make sure we have the access. And so when we do these restorations, we always make sure there's an ADA bathroom and ADA access. But the more that I thought about it, and when I was going over this presentation with Scott, there's nobody's, the interior is empty. It's not open to the.
What is the condition of the current ramp? I mean,
There's no ramp.
There's no ramp.
So.
Yeah, so it would be new. And while I'm pretty sure this is going to be the right place for the ramp, there's no reason why it has to be done now. And it's not, precluding anybody from doing anything because it's not open.
I think look, as long as that when it becomes open to the public, it is accessible.
100%.
I'm okay with that.
Well, frankly, the reason that I had second thoughts about this is because even though I believe this is the right place, we heard from somebody from Wayne Scott who thinks it is. What if it weren't and the entrance is someplace else? Then we would have. That was the one part of the project I could see having second guesses about if we did it, and then the design on the interior.
I think, look, with your permission, I'll alert the advisory committee and just see what their feedback is. And I think you're on the right lines, honestly. I think I get it, just like.
And I mean, until we know how the building's going to be used, it makes sense to hold off because it could take a beating just, when we do get to the interior work. You know what I mean?
I think it would inhibit the interior work because the interior work is a total large scope of work to be done, and it might be limiting to actually get some of the material inside of that out there. And I would rather use during that phase the backside door more than the front porch. Probably be safer for all the use. So you might be bringing a lot of equipment in through that back door. So that's a good point. I know I do, Ian, have because it was going to go on Thursday, but I'm not here Thursday, a resolution on 2 ways, maybe approaches. I can withdraw it until we found out if we wanted to change the bid up, how long we want to do, or we could see, we could prove it, but do it an amendment to the bid package that would be without the ADA ramp. I'll leave that to you.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm supportive.
I would probably withdraw, and then I can reintroduce it as early as Thursday, honestly. I spoke with Scott briefly about this yesterday. It's not going to be a big deal. The ramp is pretty separate from everything else. I just want to make sure that when the bids go out, because this was going to go out as early as Thursday, so we might delay just slightly to make sure that when people start to bid and get the bid package, they have the accurate plans. And Tom, if you talk to ADA committee, just make it clear that we aren't proposing no ADA access at all. In fact, I think our error was that we were not error, but the reason this exists is because we wanted to make sure that was a fundamental part of the project. In hindsight, I
mean, that's the long-term vision plan we're looking at.
It's premature right now.
Yeah, I do think it's premature to put it on before we do any interior work and make those final decisions. As you said, the original problem was to ensure that this is watertight immediately. And since that's not a part of that, I can see not including it.
So I've also reviewed the engineered plans here from Drew, Zach Studenroth and Joel Snodgrass also have reviewed this for architectural and historical aspects of it then too. I think the materials that are planning to be used are correct for the period of the property, for the historical preservation on it. I also appreciate the committee, proper management to get this forward so that we don't get into another wet winter season because you're exactly right, Madam Supervisor. The more water intrusion here, the more damaging it would be to the interior, which is actually in very sound shape still. Sound shape from, but also gutted then too, so the bones are strong.
Yeah, the interior is totally gutted, but it is a very solid building, and that's what really made us concerned about any water because it's in good shape except for the exterior.
I'm going to say something that's, I don't wish to cause offense to the CAC with their kind of opinion on this, but look, where we can, we might want to consider some more modern materials. I mean, if money in the short and long term is not an issue, I would love to restore this in perfect historical form. But I think we also have to be prudent and cognizant of look, maintaining a building of this size with the building and maintenance department we have and would like to have in the future, it's going to be a challenge. And we have a lot of properties which are under our management. So, the concept of, if it's not an immediate sightline, can we use, PVC trim as opposed to wood that's going to need to be cleaned and painted and scrubbed, over the years continually? Where can we kind of make those decisions? I assume Steve has been involved with this as possible, but I think Steve O'Brien, making sure his feedback on this long-term maintenance and, where we could potentially utilize those materials, it's just something that we might be wise to consider in the longer term.
Isn't it codified? It is codified. It would take code changes across the town, which would impact all historic structure.
Yeah.
And I think there's a point to historic preservation. So look forward to the discussion.
Yeah, I do too. And I look at you've seen it elsewhere. London, tons of historically preserved buildings, but where you can modernize certain aspects of it to, preserve the building in the longer term, it's potentially a wise change. So I think it's a code discussion that we might want to kind of look at. I'm not saying that you want to see plastic right in front of you on these buildings when you go in, but if you're talking about under the roof actually having a piece of, long 2x4 PVC that people cannot see or touch, but it's going to give you much more good long-term moisture protection, it's not necessarily a bad concept.
Yeah, I understand you're coming about using PVC, I think AZAC or something like that then too. We actually did that at the Marine Museum with the roof where we went to asphalt, where it was shingled. It was allowed within the historical district on there then too. That's a longer term look at it. Either way, in the short term with this project, I'm comfortable moving this one ahead. Specifically, since it was historically designated locally in the funding source is there to do the work out of the Community Preservation Fund. Mm-hmm. Thank you. And so I will withdraw that resolution when we get to that point, just to get that, and then you
withdraw.
If it goes back on Thursday, even though I'm not going to be here, I would support it if I was here. Okay.
My goal is going to be to get it on for Thursday. Again, if we can do it and make sure that it's clean and we have accurate plans for when it does go out to bid. Instead of release, my goal will be to do a resolution on Thursday and release the bid, and sometime later this month when the engineer has a chance to correct that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, beautiful. Okay, so now we have two more topics to discuss. The first is, John, if you could take that down. And before we start, we need to get, Jason, is Eric Shantz in the waiting room?
We are waiting for him right now.
Okay, he's not here?
Because the plan, right, is for him to take us through the memo?
Yep.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Eric, how are you?
Good. All right, so the first topic is the affordable housing unit definition. So basically, the board held a public hearing on May 7th. 5 members of the public spoke at the hearing. However, the substance of those comments pertained to the subsequent public hearing, which was the one for rent-restricted employer-sponsored housing, or were otherwise not relevant to the subject proposed code change. What we did was we took the comments that were pertinent to rent-restricted employer-sponsored and included those in the summary report for that topic. But the board is reminded that this particular proposed code change is to clarify that when both sales and rentals of affordable housing units are proposed, that both the sale price and rent must comply with the mandated maximums already established by the code. So that's what this code change was for. So basically, in conclusion, the board should discuss the public comments and determine if any changes need to be made to the draft legislation. The planning department does not recommend any changes. And then just as a look down the road as far as process, once the board has formed a consensus on the content of the proposed code provisions and provided that no further changes and an additional public hearing isn't required, then we'll send a referral to the Suffolk County Planning Commission. This is a type 2 action under SECRA, so the board doesn't need to declare lead agency or make a secret determination. So the next step really is just sending it to the Planning Commission, which I will do after this conversation. We should have a response within about a month. And at which time, if the board has no changes, we'll bring a resolution.
Okay. So who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'll let somebody else. I'll go first. I actually.
Wait, one second. You've got feedback. Eric, is your...
From me?
One second, please.
I'm not sure where it's coming from. All right, it stopped.
Okay,
All right, beautiful.
So let's see if it's back on at all. Let's keep going. Sorry about that, everybody.
No worries.
Yeah, I actually do think that there's a code clarification necessary here, and I understand why we this was a simple way to clarify the code. I think to show what the intention of affordable housing is. It came up in an earlier conversation. I have some concerns about. I think as long as the rent is controlled, I'm not as worried about the sale price. Just like the development costs of affordable housing projects are actually more than what you could sell them for profitably. And so I do have some questions about this specific code change. I believe I'm going to be the minority. I don't have a big problem with the result. I think that there's a clarification that's necessary, but I'm just worried that at some point, if somebody, I can envision a circumstance where people develop affordable housing projects, sell them, and they wouldn't be able to meet the affordable standards, but they would still serve the intended purpose of, rent controlled, income controlled affordable housing once they were in use.
Okay. Kate, you want to go?
Sure. I support the legislation as written. I think that, again, it's very important to realize that this is a clarification and doesn't necessarily change anything regarding the conveyance of title. I also, when I do the, it seems like it's onerous, but when you zoom out and you look at everything that's happening in the town in connection to each other, because nothing is really separate, I think the guardrails of affordability require us to also look at sales price, because of the town is such a valuable real estate asset to investors. I want to take every precaution we can to keep our anything affordable in perpetuity. We've had this in the past, and in the 80s, where housing was created that then became unaffordable without any guardrails. It's able to be, at market rate, which now with an 18% this season, we're seeing the median house price again in the town is $2.4 million. So anything that ensures, whether it may be too much, but I think we still have to be cautious and protect this, that any affordable housing stock that we create remains affordable. So I support it as written.
I do also. I think the clarification is needed in the time that we live in right now, and also that any public comments that were had didn't really change my opinion on it.
Yeah, I'd echo the same. I mean, I think, look, this is one of perspective for me, that if you are really struggling to find housing out here, the rental restriction is key. Mm-hmm. And that protection is in place. So I acknowledge that, like, the value of these assets is certainly something that will change over time, but we are providing affordable housing with this. So I'm good with it.
And I agree with my colleagues. So I believe we need to do the clarification. So Eric, if you could send this on to the Suffolk County Planning Commission, that would be great.
Will do.
All right, now let's move on to our last topic, which is the after hearing discussion for the rent restricted employer sponsored housing. So you want to kick us off again, Eric? Sure.
So the planning department prepared a summary of public comments on this topic. It's in memorandum form. It's a long memo, but there's a lot of intricate points. So my plan here is going to be to read that memo verbatim, but I apologize in advance because it's 10 pages. So. But the board held a public hearing for this proposed local law on May 7th. 9 members of the public spoke at the hearing. 3 of these 9 individuals also spoke at the public hearing for the proposed changes to the definition of an affordable housing unit, and their comments from that hearing are included in these comments. To summarize, concerns were expressed over the general purpose and effectiveness of the proposed use in addressing housing needs while not presenting the potential for significant adverse impacts, as well as over specific aspects of the draft code. For the purposes of clarity, we've broken our comments up into essentially 2 categories, those dealing with the concept and those dealing with specific provisions of the draft code. The board should also note that the planning board has reviewed the proposed code provisions and offered specific written comments to the town board by letter dated March 26th, and these comments are also incorporated herein. Additionally, the board is reminded that this proposed new use in the town code is intended to allow for private developers to build condominium units to house employees of local businesses. And although standard affordability restrictions are currently proposed as they relate to tenant income and rent, there is no restriction on initial sales price, and therefore the use itself would not be considered affordable housing as it's defined in the town code. A number of comments opposed private developers profiting from the development and stated that the units created would not be truly affordable housing. The planning department notes that this use is not defined as affordable housing and that there are indeed several distinctions between this proposed use and affordable housing as it's defined in the code. So basically, the following is the summary of our comments. Obviously, I didn't write down the public's comments verbatim, but I think that we, captured the spirit of what was being conveyed. So in this sort of general category of the concept of rent-restricted housing. So members of the public brought up a management burden. Comments were made that a development of this type will likely result in management problems and place a large burden on town resources, which in turn will cost taxpayers, and that problems are likely to arise, such as landlord-tenant disputes. The code is currently drafted with provisions that place much of the burden of management and oversight on the Office of Housing and Community Development. There is a provision that a third-party management group approved by the town will be required to be hired and oversee placement as well as ongoing maintenance and tenant disputes. The board may wish to inquire with housing as to what resources may be needed or if they anticipate significant problems with management of such facilities. The board may also wish to consider an appropriate fee schedule or some other mechanism to address administrative costs associated with applications of this nature to housing. This may be especially important if the applications pursuant to this new use require administrative resources beyond that which are typically required. The planning department recommends that the town fund does seek to recoup its expenditure of resources to oversee this use. The planning department notes that the maximum number of people per bedroom is 2, and the maximum number of bedrooms in any one unit is 3, and that the maximum number of units on any one site is 60. This means that there is a potential within the code for a development consisting of 360 individual tenants. Of course, the draft code already includes the provision that all such proposals apply for and receive site plan special permit approval from the planning board, which will need to determine if scale is appropriate for a particular site. However, we note that there is a potential for a large number of tenants, all of which will need to be checked to make sure that they meet the programmatic requirements, namely the income cap, and that they are employees of local businesses. The attorney for a prospective applicant to create one of these uses noted that there are many condominium complexes which utilize third-party management groups and do so more than adequately. The planning department notes that such comparison does not address the complexity associated with the new use due to the employee-tenant to employee-landlord relationship and potential issues associated with linking employment to housing. The planning department recommends a fee, escrow fund, or similar other mechanism to be put in place to provide resources for oversight, and that may warrant consideration excuse me, I read that poorly. The planning department recommends a fee, escrow fund, or some other mechanism be put in place to provide resources for oversight, may warrant consideration should the board wish to consider approval. Apologies. So then the next public comment.
Let me just ask the board a question. Would you folks prefer that Eric go through his entire memo, or do we want to deal with it one at a time?
I'm for dealing with it one at a time.
Okay.
I'm easy either way. I mean, he's in his flow. I'm following. Yeah.
Whatever the board wants.
I'd be happy to let him go, and then
Okay.
we want to go through issue by issue, but it's up to you.
That's okay. All right. Keep going, Eric.
Okay. There is a summary at the end, so maybe that's a good thing to kind of reference because it condenses this a little bit further. But anyway, the next comment that, is really about the concept here is regarding local businesses. Public comment was made that developments of this type will not benefit local businesses as the cost of units will be too high. It was also stated that local school districts and fire departments cannot own housing. The code has been drafted and the use considered by the town board, both in the hopes that this will provide a mechanism for local businesses to house workers. Without knowing the prices of the units or local business profit margins, the ability for many local businesses to purchase such units is unknown at this time. However, it's noted that the planning board expressed a similar concern that local schools, hospitals, and the like would not be able to afford such units. I quote here the planning board memo, but I won't read it here. As to whether or not schools and or fire departments are able to own staff housing, the planning department is unsure of any prohibitions and the board may wish to obtain additional information about this. The planning department notes that there is no clear definition of a, quote, local business or what type of business as opposed to another would be most likely to be financially able to purchase a unit. The planning department also notes, although this would need to be confirmed by council, that it may not be legally possible to restrict ownership to employers or businesses. However, provided the tenants meet the income and residency requirements, the status of the owner of the unit, whether they be an employer or a non-employer, private individual or individuals, should not prevent the development from providing housing for the intended segment of the population. With regard to SECRA, comments were made that the town has not analyzed the potential adverse environmental impacts. The planning department notes that an environmental assessment will be performed for the subject code change, as well as any other subsequent development applications that are received. So in other words, twice. As noted in the conclusion of this memorandum, once the town board has determined that no further changes to the code are needed, a full environmental assessment of this action will be conducted. With regard to the employee-employer relationship, public comments on that. Numerous members of the public question the nature of the employee-employer relationship when it is also a tenant-landlord relationship. We stated that tenants would be less likely to, quote, make noise, creating a situation of potential abuse by landlords, as tenants whose housing and employment are both tied to the same entity will be afraid of retaliation. The planning department cannot speak to the likelihood of such disputes or tenants having their rights infringed. However, the department has noted this as a concern, and the provision for a third-party management company is intended to serve, at least in part, to mitigate the potential for this to occur. In addition, the housing office has the authority to promulgate rules associated with this use, and this process could serve to mitigate the potential for abuses as well. The board may wish to get additional comments from housing, the town attorney's office, or outside housing agencies that have had experience with such ownership tenant models. Looking at the issue from an alternative perspective, rather than the town trying to say for sure that there are adequate safeguards to prevent against these possibilities, it may be an intrinsic element of this proposal that such potential will always be present, creating risk associated with potential adoption that cannot be fully mitigated at this time and may have to be monitored should the board proceed. It may also be more appropriate to place the burden on potential applicants, and the board may wish to require more information from prospective developers as such uses and or add provisions to the draft code, which would require documentation be provided, which would address this concern specifically. One member of the public who is seeking to develop one of these uses stated that there are already numerous employer-owned housing units throughout the town, and that these operate with no special restrictions to preserve tenants' rights, unlike the proposed use, which has, among other things, the management oversight of housing and a third-party management group as requirements. It is understood anecdotally that many businesses currently provide local staff housing in various forms throughout the town, and these arrangements are currently unregulated and workers' living conditions are unknown. With regard to the profit and business model, members of the public objected to the development or developer being a for-profit enterprise and opined that profits associated with this type of development could be significant and also make businesses more valuable. It was further stated related to this matter that the town should review the offering plan before allowing such developments. The profitability of this potential development model is currently unknown. Housing development is a for-profit industry. This is also true of many affordable housing developers nationwide. While that is acknowledged, the board may want to understand the profitability of this development model. This may be important, for example, if current market prices and the density allowed under the potential code make this model so profitable when compared to other options that it outcompetes other types of housing that are also needed in the town. Regarding the offering plan comment, the planning department understands that such a document may not currently be available. However, because the document contains important information about the development, it may be advisable to require its submission as part of the special permit review. A member of the public offered that the town as an entity should build needed housing, not private developers. The planning department acknowledges the important role of the town in providing affordable housing. However, because of the significant need for affordable housing, restricting all initiatives to those only advanced by the town does not seem a path that would provide the most solutions. A member of the public opined that the town needs home ownership opportunities and not rentals. The planning department agrees that all types of housing opportunities are needed and observes that by providing different housing typologies, the differing needs of the varied populace can be addressed. There will not be one fix to the housing crisis. Multiple strategies need to be evaluated, and those deemed effective should be pursued. So with regard to public comments that were made about specific provisions of the draft code, the first is regarding essential workers. An attorney for a prospective developer of one of these uses suggested that the already included cap on tenants' income of 130% of area median income should have an exception that, in quotes, essential workers be permitted to be tenants regardless of their income. The planning department defers to the town attorney's office, but suspects such a provision would also carry a potential for discrimination based on type of employment, which is prohibited. Essential worker has no durable legal definition. Any provisions using it would need a definition, and whatever definition chosen would produce enforcement challenges, including verification of essential worker status and changes in employment. Another member of the public recommended against the town allowing an exception to the income cap, noting that once this restriction is removed, the town will have no control over the placement of tenants, presumably as the definition of essential worker is nebulous, which itself was a comment from another speaker. With regard to the income cap itself that's proposed, which is 130% AMI, a public commenter noted that the planning board has suggested that the town board consider increasing the income cap. The draft code currently has requirements that all tenants do not exceed a household income of 130% AMI. This mirrors a requirement in numerous different types of affordable housing, but as noted already, rent-restricted employer-sponsored housing would not be considered a type of affordable housing. Even though this new use would not be traditional affordable housing, the planning department observes that this is an important aspect of the proposed use as it confines the housing units to being for those in need, those being households that could not otherwise afford housing on the open market. The planning department does not see a need to change this provision. However, we do note that the planning board suggested that as this use is not affordable housing, the income cap could be raised, as even households above 130% AMI are known to experience housing cost burdens in East Hampton. I won't read you the quote from the planning board, but it basically hits that point, that the town might want to consider increasing that income cap provision to, for example, 160% AMI. We might want to look at what that income would be, and then see if there's still people in that income range that are in need, because then it might make sense to increase the housing cap, the income cap. The planning department, in conjunction with housing and other departments, could provide the board with additional information as far as what household income is generally needed to purchase a realistically available lowest cost home or condominium unit in East Hampton to determine what income level would correspond with being unable to afford available housing. and where a household could reasonably be anticipated to be able to afford something available on the open market. The town board should determine if you would like additional information about that in conjunction with considering the income cap. The next public comment was to remove the requirement that sites be within the limited business overlay district and the affordable housing overlay district. An attorney for a prospective developer for one of these uses suggested that the requirement that sites be within both overlay districts be amended so that only the AHO designation is required. This comment was stated to be in response to the fact that not many properties contain both the LBO and AHO designation, which is true as there are only 2 such properties and one is already developed. However, it is the planning department's view that that the requirement that this new proposed use be within both overlay zones reflects the unique nature of the proposed new use and its connection to both housing needs and business uses. Further, we find that limiting the location of such a new use to these carefully targeted areas may be appropriate given the unknown nature and the profitability of the model. Similarly, the planning board also noted that if both rent-restricted employer-sponsored housing and an affordable housing development, 2 separate distinct uses, were possible on a particular property, this use would outcompete an affordable housing development, effectively skewing development towards 130% AMI tenants and failing to address the housing needs of the town's lower income residents. With regard to density, members of the public stated that 12 units per acre is too high of a density to permit. The planning department notes that this provision of the draft code mirrors one for an affordable housing development. Technically, the maximum permitted density is 8 units per acre, but up to 12 units per acre can be permitted by the planning board where special additional requirements are met, namely provisions for sewage treatment, preparation of a traffic study, and preparation of a study that assesses the economic impact on the local school district. The planning department notes that exploring alternative densities may be worthwhile, especially if the board is concerned about other public comments regarding excessive profitability. The planning department notes that our initial assessment is that with the provisions of these special permit standards and given an appropriate site and proposal, a development of 12 units per acre can be constructed without inherently presenting the potential for significant adverse impacts. However, at the same time, we note that development at lower densities could be considered more compatible with surrounding areas. The board may wish to consider the overall intensity of development that is otherwise permitted in the provisions of the draft code, such as the maximum number of people per bedroom, bedrooms per unit, and units per acre, and how they relate to one another, and may wish to, essentially adjust those levels accordingly. Another public comment was with regard to long-term or secure housing. Members of the public stated that this model will not provide long-term housing solutions as evidenced by the 6-month provisions for tenants to remain in units. This use has been crafted with the assumption that many units would be occupied by seasonal workers. As such, the standard requirement for affordable housing units of a 1-year minimum lease has been reduced. As such, we concur with the public comment that this will not guarantee a long-term housing solution for a tenant and note that the town is in need of housing in all of its forms. Providing housing for seasonal workers could help to reduce demand on year-round housing by removing at least some seasonal workers from the demand for year-round housing. The next comment was with regard to restrictions on resale. Members of the public pointed out that the draft code has no provision restricting future sale prices, and that this will likely result in units becoming too expensive to provide realistic housing opportunities in the future, as only wealthy businesses will be able to afford them, and the cost impacts will be passed on to the tenants. The draft code contains a provision that no tenant can be charged more than 130% of fair market rent, and such a requirement is required to be memorialized in legal documents such as covenants and restrictions. This should prevent increasing costs of units from being passed on to tenants, although it is noted that since this model has tenants also being employees, this could result in lower salary to compensate for the value of the housing unit. It is noted that employers as landlords would be bound to the minimum wage requirements that all employers are, and that the impact that providing housing will have on the wages offered to employees will need to be determined by the employer and the employee. The code currently does not restrict resale prices of affordable housing units. This is likely due to the fact that some affordable housing units, such as residential properties in the town's home ownership program, have needed provisions that allow for resale of units on the open market, where the owner pays a certain percentage back to the town so that the town can use it to acquire additional affordable housing. However, in most cases, affordable housing units are set up either as rentals with central ownership, where individual units will never be sold, or through town programs such as the one mentioned, where there are already provisions for that specific project that govern resale rules. As such, consideration of resale prices has not been a point of concern for most other types of housing developments or housing projects. The planning department recommends that, provided the restrictions on maximum rent remain in place, the price of such units to the employer slash landlord slash owner should not impact tenants. The board may wish to discuss if any provisions related to resale of units are necessary. With regard to smaller lots, a public commenter noted that the planning board sent a comment that this use should be considered for smaller lots, including those that are already within the LBO. The planning department recommends that the minimum lot size of 125,000 square feet, which is in the draft code, is recommended at this time in order to place a use such as this on a larger site. This mirrors the requirements for an affordable housing development, which is a development at a similar scale. Other mechanisms for different types of affordable housing, such as apartments within commercial structure and affordable multiple residence, also exist in the code and are permitted on smaller lots. I'll skip over, briefly. One comment was draft code provisions leave the responsibility for design and implementation largely to the planning board, which was seen as favorable. That was one comment that was made. So then there's just 6 other quick comments that didn't really fall into one of these categories. Commenter noted the proposed code said that the proposed code amendment would permit additional density at Cantwell Court. That is not the case. This code change would not apply to that site. Another comment was the proposed code would allow 4 or more unrelated people to live together, which is prohibited. We note that that is a provision that relates to single-family residences, not this use type or similar ones. Another public comment was a comprehensive plan of where housing, open space, etc. should be located, should be formulated. Just noted, the public made that comment. The East Hampton Airport is the best location for new housing, was another public comment noted. And we say that the board should consider every viable option for providing additional housing. Another public comment was the town should hold a lottery for such units. That is normally only done when there's public financial investment to make sure that it is fairly open to everyone that's otherwise eligible. This is privately owned. And then the last public comment was members of the public suggested that 130% of fair market rent was still not an affordable rent for people. We note that that is the standard that's currently for an affordable housing unit. If the board wanted to discuss it in a larger context, we could. But basically, in conclusion, the board should discuss the public's comments and determine if any changes need to be made to the draft legislation. For the board's convenience, in our memorandum, we consolidated everything that I just addressed in bullet points. And just as a closing comment, the code provision is a new concept for providing housing opportunities in the town. Public comment is an important part of the legislative process that helps to refine such proposals, and several substantive comments were received. The board should take any relevant suggestions from this step in the process to determine what, if any, changes need to be made at this time, or what additional information may be needed to determine if this new model for housing should be included in the town code.
All right, thank you, Eric. So let's start bottom of page 9 with management. Costs associated with town oversight are likely to be extensive, and the planning department recommends that the board should consider introducing a fee or some other mechanism to cover administrative costs. Do you want to start, Ian, since you're the liaison to housing?
You want me just to speak about that issue now?
Yeah, I think it would be easier if we do it one at a time. No?
Sure.
That's the first. Okay.
It's just the first one from the summary. I think this requires them to have a third-party manager. I think the idea, and I think we need it to be the case, that the law requires the developer or the project itself to be self-contained and not put the burden on us. There is reporting necessary to the town, and this does give authority to the housing department to add additional regulations, request information. I don't think I would be in favor of a fee, because at the end of the day, this is income restricted, rent restricted and income qualified housing, and we need that. The people living there are going to be people who make under a certain threshold, and the rents they're paying are going to be what we consider to be affordable. This is not affordable housing, but in those two respects, it targets a similar part of the population. So I think that we need to encourage more housing that's affordable for people, and I do believe that means we're going to have to increase our staffing. But fundamentally, this puts the burden on the owner to make sure that they're doing these things. Along those lines, I do think we need a little bit stronger language. We talk about third-party management. I think we need to add something about income verification to make sure that they choose somebody to income qualify people. And we know, because I think typically in condo management companies, that is not something they have to do as far as I know. So I want to make sure that that's explicit, because I don't want to have the housing department be responsible for this. I want that to be sort of self-contained with their ability to provide oversight.
Okay.
Yeah, if we're going to go down the line. So the mandatory third-party property management requirement is central to my ability to support the legislation. An independent manager accountable to the Office of Community Housing and Development, not the employer landlord, is the primary structural safeguard against tenant-employee power imbalance that I described when I summarize my support. Tenants need the ability to call someone who is not their boss, and the third-party manager provides that for the tenant, and that's why I think it's important. I actually note, the Office of the Planning Department has recommended a fee or escrow mechanism to be established to cover oversight costs, and I do agree with that, because in general, I don't think a for-profit program such as this should not be subsidized by general town resources. The developers and employees who benefit from it should bear the cost of the administration. So that's how I feel about that.
Okay.
So I'm on the fence about it, but how would we cap that then as far as an escrow?
Yeah, I mean, we would have to explore what the mechanism would be in order to, recapture or have some kind of fee or escrow.
So I don't really have too many hard opinions or feelings. I think Ian says that well. I also agree that we should be trying to move affordably priced housing along on there, and that since we do have the community housing fund available for O&M, that we could put that into the project if this comes to fruition on there. So I mean, I'm sort of stuck in the middle here on this specific one as far as cost.
Could you use community housing fund money if it's not affordable housing to offset the cost in the department? I mean,
I think you probably could, because the rental incomes and the incomes of the people, which is what they would look at, we'd have to ask council, but I think that what CH fund's going to be used for is determined by usually what the tenant makes or what the rent is charged.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something we would,
Yeah, for sure, we'd have to get.
Yeah, I would need an opinion on that, because it's not considered under our definition affordable. So how we would use a fund that's set up for affordable housing for something that's not considered affordable is something we need legal clarification on.
Definitely, but we do a first-time home buyers down system payment, and that's not affordable either. It's just another program that qualifies under CH law.
So I just need a legal.
Yeah, of course. But if we do, I think we want to drill down on the details, like how much is collected and what happens with that money. Are we asking the housing department to have them track their hours?
Tina, do you have comments? And Mark, please jump in.
Thank you, everyone. Tina Lagran from the Planning Department. Just to clarify a little, the recommendation for the fee was only to, recover the town's costs in administrating, like not to have a large impact fee on the developers, but really we were thinking of targeting at as you said earlier, the developers and the owners of the property, when they're putting forth applicants to pay the fees. So it wouldn't go to the folks who need the housing, more to the folks who own the housing and who developed it. So we'd have to think about the mechanism, but recovering costs is something that we do for all of our application types. So it is a pretty standard approach to, reduce the impacts to the town's administrative burden, because as we know, we're quite busy.
So would you see that on an application fee? Granted, this is going to have to go through its own permitting process to build anything here, but would you see the application fee be per whenever there's a changeover per tenant?
Yeah, I think it would be something like that when an owner of a unit is proposing new tenants, right? The town does have an oversight role in making sure that the income verification, even if it's done by the third party, was done appropriately, right? So there would be a fee associated with that service that we provide.
Which is very similar to a fee that we have with an ADU fee of a yearly permitting fee. I believe it's minor, it's like $50 a year.
Right, and we would set it just to recover our costs, right? However much time we're spending, we just take that back in.
Yeah, almost like a licensing mechanism. Like, look, if you wish to own and operate this housing model, then, maybe you need to require to get a license from the housing department to do that. And it's an annual fee that covers any costs associated for the town operating with it. I'm open to that as a concept. I do think the third party oversight is really key. But, in terms of, how we do that, a licensing option might not be the worst idea here, because it does give the town some oversight of the project in that way as well.
So you're thinking of this as a flat fee? Because the escrow threw me off a little bit in that it seems like there's some money that we could, bills come up. If it's
sure,
every time there's a new tenant, there's some oversight, that's a certain price. That makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I can support.
That's how I see it.
That's how I see it as well, just like any other application.
Sure, yeah. We're just throwing out options.
Like application processing fee.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tina. Mark, did you have thoughts on that?
No, I concur.
So that makes more sense to me, as far as if it's a permitting fee upon change of a tenant for income verification, if that offsets. But again, it should be something that's commensurate to what the costs are for staff costs, not as a mechanism for revenue.
Right, cost neutral.
Sure.
And to be clear, we're already requiring the owners to hire the third party to do the third party verification. This would just be an extra layer for our oversight of that.
Right. Okay. All right, next up, local businesses. The board may wish to seek additional information as to whether or not schools and/or fire districts could own a unit. The board may wish to seek additional information as to whether or not sales can be restricted to local businesses or employers. How do folks feel about that?
So, this goes back to the essential workforce, and I acknowledge that, look, there's not an official definition that's kind of totally recognized, but we have had one in the past. It's the critical infrastructure guidance, and it covers people in healthcare, emergency services, energy, water, wastewater, transport, food, agriculture, communications, government operations, and public works. So I think there is some guidance we can get out there on this. This one comes back to me that I acknowledge that, there may be some challenges to this, but, ensuring that we have our critical infrastructure adequately staffed, measures we can take towards that is something I'm supportive of.
So can I just ask for clarification on the discussion? We're talking about the proposal to make an exception for essential workers? Is that what we're on right now? Because I was confused by what topic you brought up.
I'm following along on
Eric's place?
on memo, bottom of page 9.
Okay, let me go to.
That's essential workers comes later.
I apologize, sorry.
This is
Local businesses.
businesses.
Oh, yeah.
For me, I'm not sure how relevant this is to the discussion.
Yeah,
personally,
I
but-
don't know how you define that. I have a problem with the definition of local business. I don't know, does that mean that the owners live in the town, or that's a very vague concept to me that would be difficult to define.
They have a physical business in the town?
That's what it was in the previous version of similar legislation that didn't move forward. I agree with Kathy, though. I don't think that this is super, I mean, if the rent is restricted and the income is controlled, then if, you know, some do-gooder wants to own this and provide what essentially is, you know, I don't want to confuse affordable housing, but, you know, housing that's attainable, then that would be okay with me.
Yeah, I think it's a definition that is really hard to actually have a regulation for. So that's not central to my support, or not?
Neither is mine.
Yeah. Okay, employee-employer relationship. The board should consider if this arrangement will inherently create abuses of tenants' rights or not be able to prevent them. The board may wish to seek additional comments from housing or another outside housing agency about this arrangement or other examples. The board may note that the impact that provision of housing has on a worker's salary will not be regulated under this code.
So if I may, so this idea, this issue of employee-tenant power balance is a central issue that, so my support overall is cautious rather than enthusiastic. And this is the topic that was raised repeatedly at public hearings, taken seriously by the planning department. It's the inherent vulnerability of a person who is simultaneously a tenant of an employee of the same entity. And when housing and employment are both controlled by the same party, the power imbalance can be acute. The tenant employee who raises a complaint about housing conditions risks not just their home, but their livelihood. They may be less likely to assert their rights, less likely to report violations, and more exposed to retaliation, whether it be overt or subtle. The planning department in this memo acknowledged that this may be an intrinsic element of the proposal that cannot be fully mitigated, and that the risk may simply have to be monitored if we move forward. I take that acknowledgement very seriously. I also note that employer-provided housing already exists informally throughout East Hampton in completely unregulated arrangements. I think this legislation, if constructed properly, would bring these arrangements, may have the ability to bring these arrangements under town oversight for the first time. For me, that's an argument actually for proceeding with the codes carefully and with all of the robust protections in place. I think the protections as they're drafted is intrinsic to providing the strongest guardrails against the possible vulnerability of tenants and abuse by landlords.
Yeah, I'll jump on this one quickly. I mean, I agree, Kate. The last thing you want to see is, you know, the creation of people having their home threatened, you know, by unscrupulous property owners. Like we don't want that. I think that this goes back to me to the third-party management piece in a way, which is that they need to have a very clear record-keeping system of when there is a complaint by a tenant that, you know, our attorney gives the opinion that like that record keeping is adequate, that should this court go to case for unfair housing practices, you know, the tenants are adequately protected. The last point on here, I think is one that like from the get-go concerns me, which is whether the worker salary be regulated, you know, and how the salary impacts overall earnings for a tenant. While I kind of think there is a risk for abuse here on that, which is like, look, you know, here's your housing, but I'm going to pay you this, but is your housing actually recorded in your salary? Because it's a benefit in kind. That onus is on the taxpayer themselves. I mean, while yes, we kind of do not want it to be abused, to me, if a resident of this property is not claiming this as some kind of benefit in kind, then that's up for them and the IRS to determine, not us. That's just my first perspective on that.
Yeah, to Tom's point about the reporting, part of the law does require them to keep track of complaints and report at least annually to the town board, and I believe the housing department too. So that's important. Look, I share everybody else's concerns about this. I think in a perfect world, housing would not be tied to employment. Unfortunately, we live in an imperfect world that we're trying to make better. And I think in the case of our town, the more places we have for people to live, low or moderate income people, the better. And so, as Kate noted, this already happens throughout the town. It's something that exists and will continue to exist in single family homes. I think that this would be an improvement. It's not without risk, or, I'm sure there will be at some point some problems because of that. But on balance, I think that we're going to be better off when we can, provide places for people to live in town for our workforce.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Ian said it the way I wanted to.
Okay. Profit and business model. The board may wish to require that information regarding finances and/or the condo offering plan be submitted as a special permit requirement. Thoughts?
For me, we have never had a problem in town of I think people getting very, the profit motive of constructing housing that will be rent controlled and income controlled. And that's what this is. And so I'm frankly not concerned about the profit. I think that what I want is a use. I want to have more housing that's affordable and for people at a certain income. And so I think that honestly that would create extra work for us to verify that, and I just don't see it as necessary. I think that markets are going to work. These are not going to be condos that can be sold at market rate. There's going to be a ceiling on what profit can be made based on how useful this is to people. I don't think businesses are going to buy these for $3 million when you can only charge $3,000 rent. I'm using rough numbers, but I think it'll be self-regulating.
So I agree with that, Ian. I think that and that's why the rent restriction requirement is also essential to my support, because without that, or even for me, any exceptions to that at this point does not ensure that that even this type of employer-sponsored rent-restricted housing will remain affordable to the businesses themselves in town to be able to continue to do this if we didn't have the guardrails in place. But I think those guardrails define the profitability, as you say. I agree with that.
Any other comments?
Yeah, so I'm not too concerned about the financing on there, but I think the offering plan is something that should be presented upon application on there. That's where I would target. As far as the resale is later on in here.
So tell me why the offering plan matters when they make application.
When they make the application, because I want to make sure the offering, it's first of all, something I've been steady on the entire time. I think if we see the offering plan, we will see what the long-term implications of this project would be. And it's another way to be transparent and safeguard what the protected project is to work within what the affordable housing scope of the town would be. That's why I would like to see it.
Tina,
I think it's going to be too hard to ask.
Is that something that would come up at the planning board level anyway? I mean, it wouldn't come to us, I don't think, but making it required at the planning board level.
Well, no, it's on the special permit, and that's what was being discussed.
So we're suggesting that it is submitted as part of the planning board special permit review. We don't do a lot of condos. I don't know that we typically review it. Here, because, the Department of State also has a role in regulating condos, right? That's very important. So that offering plan really does dictate how the place operates. So for us to have that level of transparency, that we have the same information that other regulators do, we felt was a good step here. I don't know, Eric, do you remember any condo reviews that have been done? Have we looked at the offering plan?
Yeah.
I haven't seen.
Well, over here, they have the senior condos across the street.
Right. I wasn't here for that, so I don't.
I haven't looked at an offering plan for it. I guess, just to be clear though, on this comment, the draft code already has a provision that says that The planning board during site plan special permit review can ask for any and all legal documents necessary to ensure that, the standards that are in the code are met. We were kind of getting at more right now, the draft code provision doesn't have a provision that specifically says you must submit a condo offering plan, if you are proposing condominium units. So that's really the change. You could argue that the code right now, as it's worded, does empower the planning board to require that, but it might be beneficial to have that be a specific provision of the code. That's really kind of where we were getting at with that comment.
Jake, you had thoughts?
Yes, it's been my experience that an offering plan, the purpose of an offering plan is the state saying that the owner is permitted to go out and sell the individual properties. The offering plan cannot be approved by the state unless and until there has been local approval. So you're going to get into a chicken and egg situation here by requiring.
You're what?
You're getting into a chicken and an egg situation here. If you're requiring an offering plan before approval, they can't get approval from the state until there's approval here. So
what we do in cases like that, we can say the draft offering plan and that the final could be a condition of either the building permit or the certificate of occupancy, right? If it won't be available at the time of submission.
maybe it's up to the state as to whether or not they're willing to go on proposals or not.
No, I'm saying like the approval would be issued. And a condition of approval would be that they need to submit the offering plan before a CO or a BP. It would be.
I worry it might be overkill here. I mean, it's going before the planning board. There's going to be public record as to what the intentions of the project are. That's what we'd be hoping to get from the offering plan in the same case. And I think we have adequate protection from that record.
Because we don't have anything in the code that says if an offering plan is not A, B, C, or D, then it's not acceptable. So we're just wanting it, but we have nothing in the code that says upon reviewing it, if it's not this, then it's unacceptable. We're just seeing it. So I don't understand why if we wanted to make it a condition that we would approve an offering plan, we should have that, what those conditions would be to approve or deny the offering plan in the code, no?
Right, we didn't get to that level of detail, like the substantive requirements in the offering plan. It was just because of the importance of that document in regulating the existence of the condominium.
Okay, so I understand what Jake is saying here, the chicken and the egg. And I'm fine being the minority here. I would still like to see the offering plan at some point within the town's files. I think that's important. I think we're seeing situations with development in Montauk.
I'm thinking about it.
I wish I saw an offering plan on that thing.
Yeah.
Initially, because that narrative can be binding. So either way, that's why, if it was upon conditions of, they just get submitted before a final review, and that might be the C of O.
Yeah, I'm not either way yet, David.
Sure.
That's why I'm asking questions.
To David's point, the other driver in that is that we do feel it's a best practice to coordinate with other regulatory authorities. So when there's a wetland permit that needs both the town and DEC, we always want to see both those applications to ensure that all the regulatory authorities are looking at the same information and that we can coordinate with other regulators. Now, I don't think this offering plan coordination would be at the level that we coordinate with DEC, but again, just to ensure consistency in documentation, because sometimes it's not the same.
So the offering plan should match what they're applying for.
Right, it's just full transparency. We should have it on file. We should understand,
That's not how it works. The offering plan is looking at what the applicant has submitted to the town and has approved. So the applicant goes to the Attorney General's office with everything that's been approved by the town. So it's clear what prospective buyers are purchasing. And then after that, there's a system in place for how the condo operates.
So you're saying the planning board's approvals drive the offering plan?
Correct.
That it's the articulation. The offering plan is an articulation of what the planning board approved.
Of what the entire municipality has approved, including building permits.
Okay.
And that's all sent to the state, and then the state
The Attorney
approves
General's office.
the Attorney General has the final approval on an offering plan?
Yes, they have actual architects reviewing building permits and attorneys reviewing necessary legal documents to ensure prospective purchasers are protected.
And that they're in compliance with whatever rules we created?
No, they're not looking for local rules. They're looking to see local approvals.
Okay.
And I remember when we did the aquaponic condos, every time we made a change, it had to go back up.
Yeah, if you change the price on something, it has to go back for approval.
So it sounds like that's a pretty strong guardrail.
It is.
So you don't recommend that we need to have the ability
file on copy?
No, I don't think it's even practical for it to occur because you're asking for something that has not been approved yet.
Okay.
Meaning they can't get the offering plan approved until the town has provided all of its approvals.
So if a condition of approval is then to supply that document once the Attorney General has approved it, would that be more appropriate?
I don't even know if you could do that because the Attorney General might say, well, you're not approving the offering plan until you have all approvals from the town. And the town can't come back and say, well, we're not approving it until you approve it. That's a chicken and egg situation.
So let me ask, you need a CO to go to the Attorney General? What approval do you need?
You need at least approved building permits. Okay. However, I do not see the Attorney General's office saying this offering plan will not be approved until you have a CO.
Right.
And conditioning it upon a CO. Because how can a person actually go into contract and purchase without acknowledging that this is moving forward?
Yeah, well, and I don't think we're saying, I mean, we're open to kind of how it would work, but I think we just want to have the official documentation on file. So if we received that prior to us signing off on the CO, it seems like they would already have it if they got it at the BP. And it doesn't, we're not saying we've issued the approval, but in order to satisfy all of our conditions for the planning review, you would need to submit that final piece of documentation. We do that, like, for example, with like DOT permits.
But that's a different regulatory agency.
Yeah.
The Attorney General isn't acting like the DEC or somebody like that. They're reviewing documents to ensure proper compliance and not granting approvals like a regulatory agency. I would recommend that the planning department drop that.
The only concern, though, Jake, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is what if the offering plan came out and said, we're going to sell these for $2 million each to whoever wants them? That wouldn't mesh with our intention, but if they're not looking at local code, they're just looking at safety, we would have a mismatch,
That would be in violation of the covenants and restrictions and natural.
So they would catch it?
Yes, yeah. That should be caught.
So they will check compliance with our approval. So say we put covenants, the applicant will be required to submit the covenants, and the Attorney General's office will be responsible for ensuring those covenants are achieved in the offering plan?
When I have worked on offering plans, I have had to submit covenants and restrictions as well, and copies of code.
Are offering plans public information, or is it private?
Public. You can go online right now.
I do think it's helpful for the town to know what these, have the information about how these are functioning. It's a new idea to us.
And I have one in my car. I'll bring it to you and I'll show it to you. It's huge.
Us having to go and seek it out, though, rather than making it a requirement for the developer, is just another burden on us.
I feel like once they get it approved by the state, we should get a copy of it.
Yeah, I don't
and have that onus be on the applicant rather than staff to look it up.
Well, why don't we do a little bit?
If it's publicly available, especially.
Why don't we do a little bit of research on it? It seems like.
Yeah.
A good question.
Like you want a final copy to close out the file, kind of thing.
Yeah. Because, I mean, also if they change stuff, I don't know how that works. Like if they change things between approval and CO, which we have also seen happen.
What about, Jake, what about notifying the town anytime there is a change to the offering plan?
You could do that. There's nothing against that.
There's middle ground there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, well, let us think about it. We'll talk with Jake a little further. And
I appreciate that conversation, Jake. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So now we're up to essential workers. The board may wish to consider an exemption from the income requirements for tenants who are essential workers, although the planning department suspects this is not a permitted restriction due to other laws.
I've submitted my comments on this one. I think, yes, we should get definitive guidance from the town attorney's office on this, but it's something I think we have to be somewhat aggressive on as we can, because it's such a need. You know, I think wherever we go with this, there will be elements of risk. You know, our openness to risk on different factors, this is one where I would be more open to being on the risk side.
Right, there's no definition, though, of essential worker, correct?
Just a protected class that I'm aware of.
I mean, it's from the critical infrastructure guidance, which is that they cover cybersecurity and critical infrastructure for federal government. That's the definition I gave previously.
So for me, since this is a brand-new concept, I'm not in favor of any exceptions to the 130% AMI cap on this particular project. In this particular code, we can always come back if we see that there's empty condos and people not getting them and revise it. But for me, that guardrail is very important to knowing that these are not going to be sold to anybody that can potentially find housing in another method, that the need for this, that this operates to fulfill a need. And that's the original need of 130% AMI income cap. I want to see how that goes before I make any adjustments to this code in terms of income.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're ready to add this yet because we don't have the definitions of the language yet. I'm open in concept to this, especially when it comes to volunteer, firefighters and EMTs. But I don't think we're ready to do it, and so I support this going forward without that, knowing that it's something we can address later if we decide to.
I can't support this without just saying if that disappears, I don't think I can support this moving forward.
David?
I'm good with it moving forward and get more information about the allowances. We can always come back and change the code on there, but I'm good with the 130. And Tom, let's continue talking with the attorney's office. The only thing I know, again, is protected class. I don't know much about what you just mentioned, but we can always work on that.
Well, those are two separate things, right? Essential workers and income cap of 130% AMI can be mutually exclusive.
But they're related in that the only reason you would need an exception is if you're over 130% for only essential workers. And if you're under 130%, any essential workers can live there, and many would be, by the way.
But I believe but the planning board, if I remember correctly, was open to going above the 130%.
For everybody, yes.
For everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, so that's because they're kind of melding together now, income cap of 130% AMI. The board may wish to consider amending this figure likely to a higher income range as recommended be considered by the planning board.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to do that, to go higher. Again, this isn't something this is brand new. And I want to see how this works in its current form, which matches what we're allowed to have for income for affordable housing. It matches what our affordable housing definition allows, and that helps me with this. If there was no income cap, also to carve out an income cap for the idea of essential workers, liquor stores were open during COVID because they were considered essential. So, and apparently, according to David, they were essential. So, I mean, it's legally undefined, and I think it's potentially a discriminatory category on who's in it and who's out.
I'm still good with 130 right now, too.
I would be open to going higher, but because like, two people at 130 is making almost $171,000 combined, whereas if you went to 150, it would be $197,000 combined. I think but I I guess what I'm jumping ahead because then I look at density and I wouldn't be looking for trade-offs on density in order to go up a little bit higher for
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where,
AMI.
I think that's where there might be middle ground, which is like maybe if it's legally permissible, you do 150% for essential workers, just to kind of say, hey, look, you know, maybe it's a liquor store, you know, maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's PD. I know we can't own it, but someone else could own it and rent it to them. You know, to ensure that we have adequate housing for, look, I know that there's no durable definition, but it wasn't that long ago, as you kind of called out, that we were very clear about who essential workers were and who were not. And there was a reason we made that definition, was for us to function as a town. That was the requirement. And I think as we plan, you know, for something like this in the longer term, having that exemption or having a, you know, an adjustment on that cap for those types of operations, again, I think it's just good long-term planning.
So we're also going back to the idea that this is business-owned housing. So that means the police department and the fire departments would own them. And I just think that for me, in terms of the overwhelming need for affordable housing in this town, for people who have businesses whose employees, you know, whether they're considered essential or not, and are needed to be able to keep that business open, I think that's the audience that's the target group that I'm interested in this first go round of solving. Businesses, right, who are going to buy these units for their employees. And for me, that means all employees at this point. It could change in the future, but I think at this point, when this legislation was brought to us over and over again, it talked about the need for businesses to be able to have staff. And so carving out exemptions for that takes away a unit that a business may need for their staff, which is the whole purpose to me that this was brought forward.
I support the 130% cap right now.
Okay. Everybody. David, you said you did too, and Kate did. So density, the board should consider if the maximum permitted density of 12 units per acre is appropriate. The board should consider the number of tenants that would be permitted on site based on the number of people per bedroom, number of bedrooms per unit, and number of units, and the impact this could have on surrounding properties.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. So I'm comfortable with the special permit to allow 12 units of density on there. That matches where we've been adjusting the code on there. In situations like this, and in times where this will be in LBOs, the property size itself, the lot area, is going to limit the amount of parking, wastewater if needed be, or lot coverage on there. So I think you're going to be targeted and limited a lot based on that, as far as in the amount of individuals that can be in these property in these locations on there. So I'm good with the 12.
I'm also good with the 12.
I'm good with the 12 because I think environmentally, not sure how much more we can support. So I think the special permit to to increase density for this reason is, again, important, an important pillar for all of this, that it's 12.
I'm good with the 12 as well. You know, it would require a sewage treatment, it would require a traffic study. You know, they'd have to show that they can handle that. So I'm good with that for sure. And as far as the number of tenants, it's a fair point. I think that really is firmly in the planning board's realm. You know, I don't know if we feel that we need to say anything stronger, that if we do the math and there's so many people that the parking, you know, calculation changes. But to me, that's part of what the planning board will do, is look at, you know, the bedrooms, the parking, and they'll go over that. So.
And we have the guardrails for that of the AHO and limited business. So we already have 2 guardrails on there in place for that, for me.
Okay.
Yes, I don't think that this should be subject to a special permit. I think it should be tied at 8 units per acre. And, you know, listening to the public comment and listening to the amount of unrelated people that could be in an apartment, I think it's just too much density. And so I'm not supportive of the special permit for this legislation.
But we do have also the amount of bedrooms and people for bedrooms as a guardrail in that regard as well.
Yeah, but a 3-bedroom could have 6 people. And typically with affordable housing, if it's true affordable housing, they typically have like fewer vehicles, per household. This has the ability that, there could be 6 cars for a 3-bedroom house.
But if that's planned for, I think that's okay. I mean, I think we have to acknowledge that true affordable housing exists in the town already, and it's one of those things that we face a challenge with the code enforcement. There's some people who operate under the radar, like with illegal structures. We've talked about this with multiple, and that's the cheapest rent they can afford. I think at least with something like this, planning will have been done, fire inspections will have been done, but you're actually providing workforce housing. So I'm open to the 12 on this. I think it's the right number.
Is there any part of the code that, I think there's part of the code that states that they're only allowed to have 4 non-related individuals per unit?
It's only for single-family homes.
But yeah, and this is a special permit. With the special permit, that's the whole point. You could have more.
I'm still good with a special permit, but I understand the supervisor's concerns.
Resale, the board should consider whether any provisions limiting the resale price of units are required.
This one actually came up in my CAC, and I don't know, Jake, if this is legally permissible, but would it be a possibility to give CHF the first right refusal on a resale property?
We'd have to look into it. Not sure.
Okay.
I'd be interested in tying the resale value to CPI.
Yeah, I don't have strong feelings about this one. In the earlier draft of similar legislation, that was part of it. Although I think if we're talking about staff workload, it's going to create a burden on them. And I do think the market's going to self-regulate this. And as long as the income and the rents are controlled, then I think we're achieving our intended goal. So I don't think this needs to be there, but I'm not dead set against it.
I'm in the same position as Ian on this one.
That it's self-regulating.
Yeah, I don't know if the sale price matters since it's not affordable housing. Again, I think the rent restrictions is the strongest guardrail for keeping this affordable. Whether businesses can, the market will regulate what they're willing to pay for it. I don't know if, because it's not affordable housing, and that's what I want to make these distinctions. I think the market regulation is the most important part for me, but that going back to the income cap, which will keep these at an affordable rent rate for anyone.
The last is smaller lots.
So I could
Go
just,
ahead.
so part of my reasoning behind that the CPI is that I don't disagree with you, Kate, and that the rent restriction is the most important part about it. I would just want to see that if there was a mom and pop store that there's never going to be a cheaper time to buy into this formula than first. It's always going to increase a little bit more. So how do we keep the mom and pop stores from potentially using this type of new designation of housing compared just to have larger entities come in? And I think that's part of just trying to find the balance, the increase in resale values. That's all.
I see it very difficult for a mom and pop store to be able to buy into this program right from the beginning.
I understand, but if there was, just trying to, I mean,
something.
You got a bunch of mom and pop store owners on this board, and it's challenging no matter what.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate that. So I'm on the fence about that now because I think that is a valid point. But again, now we're changing it from, okay, how does everybody else feel about that? I have to digest that a little.
I'm good moving forward because, again, part about this, and we said the other one, you can loosen it or tighten it as you go to see how it works.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Smaller lots, the board should consider if this use should be permitted on lots less than 125,000 square feet, the currently proposed minimum lot area requirement as suggested by the planning board.
At this time, I don't support that.
Either do I.
Either do I.
Same.
Yeah, I get where they're going. I acknowledge it's definitely something we should come back and reconsider, but overall, I would like to see a project delivered and see how it operates before we move to smaller lots.
And there's other options that Ian mostly.
Like affordable multi-residence was just, introduced, and I think that we took care there to have a different density standard because it would be on a smaller lot, and I think that, we don't want to throw that out by. I certainly would not want to allow this use in a smaller lot with more density than we would with traditional affordable housing, and that's what that would mean.
I mean, you also have in the pipeline, we're looking at the ability to have housing on business lots themselves, which may take care of the smaller bucket.
Okay, so I've been keeping score. So it looks like there's 2 changes that need to be made to the local law. The first is tying a fee to each application or each tenant, right? And the second is that the developer needs to notify the town when there's a change to the offering plan. But other than that, it looks like from all of my notes that there are no other changes that we're looking for at this point.
I would like to require a one-year lease term.
Okay.
I think that, I don't think this can be, there was a lot of concern about it being a revolving door, and we're talking about management. I think that would go a long ways to alleviate management concerns. I would be open to a shorter term of 6 months or something like that, but we wouldn't want to have 6 different tenants in one apartment over the, different leases over the course of the year. So I think that, and then I think that the strengthening the income verification language in addition to the third-party management, being explicit about that.
Okay, everybody good with that?
I'm on board.
All right. Eric, Tina, Mark, is there anything that we didn't touch on that we should have, or any red flags that have gone up? No? Mark, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. If you're asking me, I don't see anything else, I guess. And I think this is where everyone's going, just trying to figure out the next steps. We need to determine, how we would amend the draft code provisions, but then also determine whether or not this requires renotice.
I think it would require renotice. Yes, it requires renotice. Eric.
It's going to take a bit of work, but I'll work with Tina and Eric and Mark and Brittany on these changes.
Great. All right, beautiful.
But yeah, and with regard to the original question, I don't think there's anything you missed. I was taking notes too as you were going along.
Okay. Eric, I just want to thank you for how well you synthesized this memo and the public comments that we heard. So
no problem. Thank you.
Grateful. Okay, we're through our agenda and we're up to liaison reports.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I will kick off with Human Services. 2 things to talk about here. The first is just some good news coming from our Grab and Go program. For those who don't know, we offer a Grab and Go program for seniors to bring home a certain number of meals. We also offer the on-site food program. And one of the historical issues we've had with the department is, food waste, like everywhere else, and how can we improve that? Our Grab and Go program has actually been a great way of doing that. As the meal's prepared, if their need is not met immediately, they can be flash frozen there and then and transferred into this Grab and Go program, which continues to grow. So kudos to the Human Services Department for what they're doing there. I also wanted to bring to the attention, this is from Human Services, the Home Maintenance Repair Program, which provides assistance to residents in the town who are 60 years age or older, homeowners, renters. This can offer help with program, household chores, minor repairs, a range of issues. For anyone who may be in need of this support, you can contact Liliana Rodriguez at the Human Services Department. Her number is 631-329-6939, extension 7209, between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Again, this is just, for minor repairs, plumbing, exterior repairs, installation of safety rails, smoke detectors, patching walls, weather stripping screens, storm windows. We get that it can be hard for some of our senior populations out here, and this is just one of the ways that we kind of look to make your lives out here better. Next, Far Road access. Just want to give two pieces of heads up here. The first is that we are looking to work with Laser Tree, an external contractor, to do some improvements on the Edwards Hole Reserve. Specifically, we're going to be starting with the Palmer Path, just removing some of the dead pines which are adjacent to the path, and in some areas just widening as per direction and feedback from the fire departments, just to kind of ensure that they have adequate access in those areas. The second piece is that we're going to be doing some outreach to the local residents in that area adjacent to the property. Just highlighting that, look, as we look to go forward managing the fire load risk in this area, we are looking to improve access. This is potentially one of two avenues we're looking to take. The first is the possible construction, or well, not construction, possible reopening of old fire roads, which were internal to the property. The second option is working with homeowners to get easements to allow for, the town to access those properties. To follow up on this, the letter is just going to be inviting homeowners to come to meet with the town, discuss options before we kind of move forward and everything, because, whatever we do, it impacts not only your safety, but also, your immediate environment. So just be expecting those to be coming out in the near future. East End Fire Commissioners, East End Fire Chiefs, just want to highlight that I sent out to all members of those groups the recent fire grants program from FEMA. There's a new batch of funding that's been released for a range of firefighting programs, so please apply as you can. Disability Advisory Board, we discussed some of their work today. The other project that we're working on in conjunction with Jennifer Elfline at the school, as I mentioned this board previously, is that young adults who age out of the school system with special ed really kind of at a loss in our community. And there is a program in place offered by Rise Life Services that is no cost to the taxpayer. It's funded entirely through Medicaid, that provides opportunities for them, be they work opportunities or just recreation, other areas. The key here has been finding a space that's applicable for them to use. We're possibly looking at the general rec room at Windmill 2. We're going to be meeting on site on the 28th of this month. We're having a day out. The other option that's been raised by the committee, which I just want to kind of bring up, is the possibility of a room at CDCH. I mean, we've had that building vacant for a little while now. I know we've done some great repairs there, but is it a possibility we could find space for them there? East Hampton Youth Task Force, I just want to congratulate all the young people out there for a successful and fun prom. I hope you had a good time, and the reports we got back weren't too bad, so good for you. Arts Council Committee, we met last night. There was a very interesting discussion around public art spaces and how the Arts Council can partner with the town just to increase opportunities for artists and, in the community. They discussed the recent roundabout on Tulsa Water Road. And whether something could be done with that rock installment being painted, or just elsewhere. Murals in the town. Just different options. What can be done, what cannot be done. Another discussion.
I don't mind having the conversation, but that rock being painted.
Again, but possibly a smaller, other different installation.
Sure. I apologize.
That was just kind of anecdotal example.
That's like the rock out in what's it called, in Block Island that gets painted every night.
Right.
That can just.
Other option was like the existing senior center. Look, we know it's going to be a little bit of time before we kind of get to where we need to with the senior center and the community center. In the interim, could we actually have the Arts Council, go out and review possibilities for artists to come in and paint murals on the front, just to kind of make that building look more happy and fun. I think it's, one of those things, just look, we have a great arts history out here, and finding ways to celebrate that and encourage young contemporary artists to thrive out here with the use of public space to express is something, that the committee's looking to do. Business Committee is meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'll be discussing building department, among other things. And then lastly, the Emergency Preparedness Committee, I had a long call on Zoom this week with the CDC, just part of their kind of monthly updates on different things going on across the country and the world. But just to kind of give quick things, because it's in the press, the Ebola outbreak, very low risk over here. You know, the hantavirus, again, super low risk here. As everyone's probably read, most people now isolated in Nebraska for that. Measles does continue to be an issue, and they've issued guidance to all camps in the country about what some protocols might be for measles issues. I have forwarded that to John Rooney in our department, but anyone operating a camp in the town, I do recommend you go and just do a quick search for CDC summer camp measles guidance. We'll give you some kind of key updates as to just ensure you have safe operations. That's everything from my update.
Thanks, Tom. David?
I just have three things. I wanted to let everyone know that the week after Memorial Day, being next week, there's going to be two actions happening. At Big Albert's, there's going to be a staging area for a property owner's minor beach or dune restoration efforts. This has happened multiple years in a row right now. Also, after Memorial Day, there's going to be beautification projects in downtown Montauk, and also expansion, removal and restoration of the sidewalk along Old Montauk Highway. Lastly, I've been invited and will be engaging on this Thursday on an interagency seafood infrastructure working group meeting. This is being put together by the Department of Agriculture from New York State. I look forward to that. They're trying to target needed infrastructure for the commercial fishing industry on Long Island then too. So maybe we'll bring that up something later on to a town board meeting also. Thank you. And to everyone, I don't want anyone to lose sight on the importance of Memorial Day. While we call it a holiday, it wasn't a holiday for millions of family members. Memorial Day is a solemn holiday that we remember the individuals that gave the ultimate sacrifice for the freedoms of America. So with that, I hope we all enjoy Memorial Day, but please remember why we have Memorial Day. Thank you.
David.
I just got some recent news. I just wanted to, if I may, jump in very quickly. Just many community members may know we were very saddened Alison Spacek recently passed away. The Arts Council last night did have a discussion. I just got this email just now about they've been granted, if the town would be open to it, a selection of her works, and possibly if the Art Council approves of them, to display them in Town Hall for a short period of time, just to celebrate her life as a fantastic community member.
Okay, let's bring that up at a future board meeting. Kate?
Yes, the Wayne-Scott CAC had met and the first week of the month, and they had discussed bringing only one proposal back to the town board this year for stop signs. The subcommittee, if you recall, had a presentation and had asked for numerous stop signs. They've reduced that request to one set of stop signs. I have a map just to show everybody. It would be on here, Ian. It would be on the corner of Wayne-Scott Northwest Road and Wayne-Scott Stone Road. If you recall in that discussion, the board wasn't opposed to it. Nobody in the audience spoke out against it. We had some speakers explaining the issues that farmers would have had with the stop signs down by Main Street. But this continues to be a dangerous intersection for particularly pedestrians, and because of the sight lines, and because, of course, most of our roads in our town are not at a 90-degree angle, it's very difficult. We were hoping that there would be some improvement because Wayne-Scott Stone Road speed limit has dropped down to 25, but they haven't seen much improvement in safety there, and they would like to bring this recommendation back to the board. I, of course, will go to Steve Lynch and PD for recommendations, but I wanted to put it on everybody's radar once again.
I'm comfortable with this one.
I can't, have you spoken to Steve that he could make this a 90-degree angle?
As I said, I haven't spoken to Steve about any of this yet.
Because I'd like to see Wayne-Scott Northwest Road, that's a 90-degree angle, which is something that he's done in other parts of our township that would improve sight lines, I would imagine.
Yeah, I recall speaking to Steve about this. He had some reservations, but I can't recall exactly what they are, so just do check in with him.
Yeah, the town board at the time when this was brought forward didn't really have objections to this. The idea was to see what the effect of the lowering the speed limit would be in the discussion, and that was really what we were waiting for, data on that. There's data now, so I'll reach out again to PD and Steve.
Is there official data about this meeting there?
There's the data that's collected by the PD's signs,
if
yes.
you could circulate that
I'll circulate that as well.
with an analysis from PD.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from Steve Lynch on that too. And also just to know, I think part of the issue here is right-of-way encroachments, frankly.
Yeah, there's a lot.
The sight line is not great there, and
It's impeded to the point of where it's not safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also an issue there. And in many places across town.
Many places.
Mhm. And now you're seeing irrigation even put into the public road right-of-ways, which is another topic. So that's this recommendation. I'll continue to do the research on that. The other thing is that the Change Hampton had their event on Saturday. Ian, you came to see the all the commercial grade electric battery operated tools that are available for landscapers to use, whether it's a homeowner, but these were specifically aimed at commercial grade. I think there were landscapers that came who actually already used the equipment and landscapers that really had a lot of reservations about it. So I think the goal here is to continue the education to landscapers on what's available with the goal of at some point looking towards a transition for landscaping equipment or for leaf blowers to electric leaf blowers. Myself, when I went, I have an electric leaf blower. It's not commercial grade, and I was wondering if it actually, for me using it, I wasn't quite sure it was actually quieter, but they had sound gauges, and it is considerably quieter for the user as well. And of course, you don't have the emissions, the toxic emissions for people that are using this equipment all day long. So, 8 to 10 hours a day of breathing in gas fumes is not healthy for anybody, along with the most important issue for folks that are making this decision right now for me is every time you look at the price of gas going right now in town, it's above $5. So in order to save landscaping companies, because those costs get translated down to the homeowners and homeowners themselves, I think it's a very timely and good time to take another look at what's available out there that's not powered by oil and gasoline. So that I hope Change Hampton continues those education events. They were very helpful. I had a great video. Unfortunately, when I replayed it, and thankfully I caught it because I had already sent it to Jason in my video, there was some unsavory language that it picked up in the background. But they had a commercial grade, large robot grass mower that was running around out there. And again, this is commercial grade for very large properties, and it was doing a great job. Unfortunately, I can't show that video unless something was picked up in the background that I'm glad I caught before I asked you to play it, Jason. It was a great event, and I'll stop there.
Thanks, Kate. Ian?
Yeah, that was a great event. I just want to reiterate the thanks to Change Hampton. I think it was wonderful how many different pieces of equipment were there, and it was great to see. I learned a lot myself, and then the garden here. So Change Hampton, keep up the great work. We all appreciate it. I have a very brief liaison report. Maidstone Park Playground is still on schedule. I think I had said hopefully for Memorial Day. It's an early Memorial Day this year, so
That's true.
end of the month.
Okay.
But it's progressing, and I got an update today actually, and they still anticipate it to be done by the end of the month. So that's great. And otherwise, I just have two actually cancellations. Spring CAC is canceled tonight, which was a great surprise to me, but I think everyone's getting ready for the weekend, and there was nothing pressing to discuss. And then Ag Advisory, which was scheduled for Thursday, is also canceled because it's beautiful out, and I think the farmers are all busy.
Okay, great. I just wanted to touch base on the Long Island Railroad. As of today, we understand that full Long Island Railroad service is expected to be restored by 4 p.m. today. This is welcome news for East Hampton because the disruption has had a real impact here. The South Fork commuter connection is built around the Long Island Railroad service, and while the town's shuttle portion is not staffed by MTA employees, and there was some confusion out there about that, it connects riders to and from Long Island Railroad trains. When that service was suspended, the South for commuter connection could not operate. And that matters for us here in East Hampton. In April alone, the service carried more than 2,100 passengers over 22 service days, helping workers get between train stations and schools, government offices, retail stores, private offices, and other workplaces. And we're grateful to the governor and to the MTA to coming to an agreement, and that service is expected to resume, like I said, by 4 o'clock today. And it just demonstrated how much our community and our town government depends on reliable public transportation, as we had a number of folks battling the traffic and others working remotely from home. And the last thing I just want to say, I announced it the last time, but now we have a flyer. We're going to be having a Town of East Hampton job fair on Saturday, June 6th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here in this room. A number of departments have signed up, and, you know, kudos to Emily Fisher for getting folks to participate. So Human Resources will be here, the Police Department, Recreation, Code Enforcement, Animal Control, Highway, and Sanitation have all signed up so far.
Great.
So we'll be, you know, doing outreach on this. Civil Service will also be here. So, you know, for those folks here, you know, live here, work here. And
Is it just Saturday, June 6th?
Saturday, June 6th, 9 to 12. So now we do have a few resolutions that we need to get approved today.
Yeah, we'll jump right in. I will start with Resolution 2026-833. This is to approve purchase of Golden Years Video Library, the Retirement Enrichment Collection. This is to cost the town not to exceed $75.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
834 is a resolution to authorize an amendment to the payment processing agreement with CSG Forte Systems. Be resolved, the town supervisor is hereby authorized to execute an amendment to the original agreement for CSG Forte payments in order to extend its payment processing services to the town clerk's office under the service fee model pricing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
My pleasure to offer Resolution 2026-835. This is to accept a donation of services and materials from the SOFR Foundation, where the town's the owner of 173 Town Lane, about 5.28 acres. The foundation set forth proposal on November 17, 2025, and the town board is now graciously going to accept this proposal. The estimated donation value is $200,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
836 is a budget modification. This is where we're decreasing the line for fuel and the amount of $7,000 and increasing the budget line of equipment and repair in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 837 is appoint student intern 1 in the aquaculture department, Ethan Rabin, hourly rate of $19, effective June 15, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 838 is appoint student intern 2 in the aquaculture department, and Nathaniel Filer, hourly rate of $21, effective May 22nd, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
839 is accept a proposal for statewide roofing for the Atlantic Avenue Beach Comfort Station. And again, this is, oh, cool. All right. Replace, okay. So we're going with a standing seam roof on here. It's $109,725. And the proposal is dated April 24th, 2026.
Second.
And discussion, just to let everyone know, that we're doing a full revamp of this comfort station. We don't anticipate that it's going to take too long. We will have portable bathrooms out there if needed, but again, it's going to be interior and full exterior work also then too.
It's great. All in favor?
Aye. 840, it's a notice of bidders for H26-033. It's for surplus oyster seed sale for 2026. The bid is available May 21st, 2026. The bid is due back June 11th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to withdraw resolution 841.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
842 is appoint seasonal labor in the Parks Department, James Lawler, hourly rate of $22.88, retroactive to May 17th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, sorry. 843 is a reject bid EH26-016 is the Abraham's Path Comfort Station site improvements.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
844 is to extend the contract EH25-017 is the annual contract for cesspool cleaning and tank pumping services to Quackenbush cesspools.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
845 is a separate resignation of part-time labor, and this was in the I'm just going to go Miller Figueredo, retroactive to May 7th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
846 is a set bid EH 26-024. This is a purchase and install motors on aquaculture boats to Spellman's Marine Incorporated. And amount not to exceed $32,414.97.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 847 is appoint seasonal labor in the Parks Department, Alex Aponte, hourly rate $22.88, effective June 14th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 848 is authorized title search, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-163-4-3, and this is not to exceed $2,950.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 849 is authorized payment of a prior invoice to the Highway Department for $180 to Liberty Iron Works.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 850 is a resolution to authorize agreement with the Montauk Village Association for funding of beautification project, and this is where we're further allocating $3,000 to them for cleaning.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 851 is a transfer of the Laura Simonson Skate Park Reserve and budget modifications for purposes to be for Laura Simonson Skate Park, and we're transferring $1,673. We're transferring $1,673.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 852, this is a set bid EH 26-015. This is for the shade shelter for Montauk Skate Park and the Fred Thiel locations. This is to go to park, play sites, and surfaces. And the amount totaling is, okay, we got three lines on here. Total cost is $310,000 for both.
Second. All in favor?
Move for comment. I get the need for shade. I do have a little bit of sticker shock at these shade structures.
That's right.
Like, it's a lot of money. I mean, is it absolute required? I don't know. I mean, I have a little trouble with this one. What have we done in this way? Are there other ways to cost engineer this?
So no, so this actually was put out the bid on there. What we were seeing is the same shade shelter that we purchased at it's the same exact one at Stephen Hand's Path. And there's a secondary one installed somewhere, and I'm forgetting what location right now, but the costs have nearly gone up by 60%. And that's what we got back on the bid for the same exact one right now. So costs are increasing that much on it. The only option later on is potentially go out to a contract for shade shelters, but you would want to have multiple of those. You're going to do. The one at the Montauk Skate Park was part of discussed at the initial installation of the skate park, working with the Skate Park Foundation, that the town would be coming back with a shade shelter at a time after we've done did the skate park, the basketball course, and this sort of completes what the town's commitment to the project is.
All in favor?
Yeah,
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
853 is a set bid EH 26-025. This is for the Springs Youth Association HVAC improvements, talk about sticker shock. And this was for $467,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 854 is provisional part-time appointment to the office assistant Alice Nicolai in the Recreation Department, and effective May 29th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I have Resolution 855, which is to appoint Jonathan Herman as an additional Litter Action Committee member for 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 856 is to modify Resolution 2026-382 to increase AKRF budget allotment, where AKRF has been retained per adopted resolution to assign work for the planning board and zoning board. Not to exceed amount was $5,000, where KRF has provided an updated proposal dated May 11th to increase its not to exceed budget from $5,000 to $10,000 to accommodate the effort required to complete assigned tasks. Resolve, this resolution seeks to modify the not to exceed budget from $5,000 to $10,000 for 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 857 is approval of various special events for June and July 2026, list and all events below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 858 is approval of various events, special events for May 2026. These are 2 events at the Surf Lodge for 2 different fundraisers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 859 is to retain Farrell Fritz for best practices for the Zoning Board of Appeals, whereas the Office of Farrell Fritz submitted a proposal May 1st, 2026, to serve as special counsel to the Planning Department in assisting with executing the practice analysis for reviewing ZBA applications and procedures, limited, including but not limited to secret review, public hearings, work sessions, and staff reports, where Farrell Fritz has specialized in expertise relating to zoning matters to assist the Planning Department. Resolved that the town board hereby retains Farrell Fritz to provide professional legal services to the Planning Department for the Zoning Board of Appeals. Further resolved that Farrell Fritz shall be paid in accordance with the fee schedule set forth in their proposal dated May 1st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 860 is approval of Surf Engstrom Seasonal Surf Lessons Permit 2026. These lessons are given at Marham.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 861, this is to authorize attendance for the New York State Association of Tax Receivers and Collectors Conference in Niagara Falls, New York, for Christy Kinney from June 7th to June 10th. All appropriate fees and travel costs will be paid in an amount not to exceed $1,450.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 862, this is to establish a leave bank share time for a Justice Court employee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 863, this is to amend Resolution 2026-383. This is for work at 54 Tub Oarsman remediation, an additional amount of $3,336 for a total amount not to exceed $28,420.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 864, this is to waive fees for the land building capital project. Any internal fees associated with the project, including but not limited to ARB permit fees and building permit fees.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2026-865 is the continued retention of outside counsel, LED Elibot 2026. This is to represent the town in all aspects of the wind farm project in an amount not to exceed $1,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
David?
Yes, sorry. Thank you. 866 is a budget modification for the Recreation Department, and this is a decreasing budget lines, computer software for 1,000 and repairs general for 1,000, but increasing for recreational supplies in the amount of $2,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session, discuss real estate, advice of counsel, litigation, personnel, and contracts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a safe Memorial Day weekend. I hope, the forecast is wrong and we have some sunshine over the weekend. And thank you, Jason, for today's meeting.